your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Yes. On a Thursday, Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports, taking you up to 2 p.m. It's about to get hot outside and, of course, in the studio as we have the round table. That's going to be at 12. And you have Brendan Nunez and Chris Watkins joining us there. Frank Cardicelli, he's busy, but he will be with us next week. I was talking to, yes, he will.
That's what we do.
Yes, he will. And on top of the round table, we have our free agent trade target as always. And this free agent target, let's go ahead and get the hint out now since I've been late these last couple days. Undersized point guard, all-star this past season on a top Eastern Conference team. That's too easy. I shouldn't have said undersized. Undersized point guard, all-star this season on a top Eastern Conference team. That's all you get. That is all you get. So that's coming up at 11 as well. And we are giving you a couple different updates here as far as the free agent point guards. Keith Smith, who joined the show, I believe that was last week or maybe the week before, he has broken down each position as far as free agents. And we're actually going to dive in, and we're going to do this in the 10 o'clock hour, into the free agent point guards. So everybody that is complaining whenever we bring up Dennis Schroeder or Tyus Jones or Trey Jones, Keith Smith has them broken down in terms of how much they'll be, and then juxtapose that to what they do on the court, so on and so forth, to evaluate what they'll cost and their value. So that's coming up at 10:30 as well. And of course, we are going to give our kudos to the Oklahoma City Thunder and them taking care of business. And, you know, at this point, I'm not really upset about how people may have felt in the past because of the fact that they hadn't got it done yet. You look at what they did last season and the season before that. It was a pretty quick climb to the top. And last season was their first breakout season as that number one seed, and they didn't get it done. And then on the other hand, I think the protection for people like me who didn't necessarily believe in the Thunder, or I'll believe it when I see it, the protection for me and others that felt like that, whether you picked the Lakers or the Warriors or the Nuggets, teams that have been there before, is because in the East, the Cavs didn't even get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I know they had injuries, but it's hard to evaluate a team based on what they do in the regular season. Sometimes it's just as obvious, it's just as clear as they make it. Sometimes it's not. And I know some people are saying, no, Atlanta Hawks weren't actually that bad, so stop making fun of them. Well, they were the one seed in the East, and nobody believed it, and they couldn't get it done. Now, they didn't have an MVP candidate putting up one of the best seasons that we've seen in recent memory in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but a lot of us, we believe it when we see it. And wow, we saw it last night. We saw it 2 nights ago. We saw it throughout that whole Western Conference Finals. We saw it in the round before that. Again, kudos to Jokic for even bringing the Nuggets to that position. But this team is on another level, and everybody should be believers now. I don't know how the Pacers, and we're going to talk about the future of the Thunder because it is bright. If the Pacers win this tonight, or if the Knicks come back from 3-1, I just don't know how they beat the Thunder. I have no clue how they would beat the Thunder. They just look like a well-oiled machine right now. And speaking of a well-oiled machine, the California Classic has been that of a well-oiled machine. Really a great event out here in Sacramento and in the Bay Area. And we alluded to some reasons why the Kings are not participating in the California Classic this year. It is going to be at the Chase Center, and we know that it will be back here at Golden One Center next season. Will the Warriors participate? Not sure. The bigger question was this the NBA snubbing the Kings because they have no first-round pick or nobody that the NBA believes the Kings want to watch. I read that Devin Carter might not even be playing, or he wasn't going to play during that time frame anyway. Just a report that I read. We'll see what happens in Vegas. So is that why, or did the Kings bow out? Well, who better than to break this down for us than our own Kyle Draper, who, of course, is very much connected to the Kings.
The LeBron of the station.
The LeBron of the station, doing the Kings play-by-play. So Kyle hopped on the airwaves yesterday and gave us some information that we were all looking for, and here it is.
Here's what I'm told about the reason why Sacramento is not a part of it.
All right. Sources tell you?
Sources are telling me. Sources say because of all the turnover, front office, coaching staffs, assistants, the organization is focusing on the Vegas Summer League and making sure everything is in lockstep and everything is tight for that, instead of adding another Summer League to the plate, which could, because they did it last year. Remember they had 2 teams?
Yeah, they did. 2 split squads.
And I heard that was kind of a nightmare, if you will, from a logistics standpoint. And they wanted to avoid that this year and instead wanted to focus strictly on getting everybody in lockstep for the Vegas Summer.
Okay. All right. I mean, people were saying, does it cost? This is where we're at with the Kings. Does it cost money? They don't want to pay. It's down the street. Name money. Come on. It was funny when I saw that, though.
It was weird, though, because they had like Boogie Ellis and Drew Timme in one summer league, and then other people went to the other summer league.
Well, and I even remember going back to high school. The whole idea is, one team isn't better than the other, but you always think that, right? In middle school, there was A team, and then we had A team. We had so many kids. We had A team, we had A2, we had B1, and we had B2. We had 4 teams in middle school. I was A1, of course. Then I get to high school, De La Salle, and there was green and silver. And the question was, okay, who's the better team, green or silver? The rumor was that green got first pick. Snake draft, just like what the Kings are doing with Scott Perry and Doug Christie as they build out the coaching staff.
So this was the actual team, or this was like winter ball?
We had 2 freshman teams in basketball, green and silver. And everyone, are you on green or silver? Who's the better team? And of course, you would play each other. So as far as the Kings are concerned, I don't know, it's purple and black, whatever it was. Hey, who's better? Or is it better to be on this team, that team? Obviously, if you're Devin Carter, you're not worried about that. But some of these other guys, like Kyle mentioned, the Boogie Ellises of the world, dudes that are just kind of trying to hang around as well, Scalabissiers of the world, what does that matter? They're saying, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to focus on Vegas. And I can't say whether it's a good or bad thing. I think Kings fans is just another thing that I just think that right now Kings fans are just begging for hope, right? Not that this is Star Wars, a new hope, but that's what they need, a new hope. And Summer League can we watch somebody under 25 play basketball? I don't even care if they stink. Can I watch somebody in a Sacramento Kings jersey play basketball under the age of 25? That's all I want. And I think that a lot of people saw the California Classic as Sacramento's baby, right? And how they would show out for the California Classic. And, hey, we show out so much better than they do in the Bay. And you can still do that next season. But it was just another thing. The Kings need a win. And I'm not even talking about the season. They just need a win. And you could say keeping Doug Christie or retaining Doug Christie is a win. You could say, let's get it popping. Throwback Thursday. You could say that Scott Perry, adding him to the fold, is a win. But I just feel like Kings fans are just begging for a win. My old job, we used to have a hashtag in our Slack channel called Tiny Victories, right? And that was where you would put just little things, right? You'd say, hey, somebody came up to me once they found out the company that I work for and say, I love your product. You would throw that in Tiny Victories. I feel like the Kings just haven't had any tiny victories within the last, honestly, ever since the 7-game winning streak. That's what it truly feels like. Now, keeping Doug Christie, Scott Perry, even last season, DeMar DeRozan, even though we didn't know if it would make sense or not, I'd say that's more than a tiny victory. Huge name. Keeping Malik Monk, I'd say that is even more than a tiny victory. Now, since Malik Monk stayed in Sacramento, nobody talks about him anymore. But everybody thought Malik Monk was going to leave. So it just feels like the Kings and Kings fans needed a tiny victory. And I don't know, maybe they win the whole thing in Vegas and that could be it. We don't even know who the hell is going to be on that roster. Obviously, they don't have a first-round pick. But that's basically the breakdown from one Kyle Draper as far as what in the world happened. So the good news is that the NBA didn't snub. I guess the long and the short of it is that the Kings declined. That the Kings said, we don't want to be, I don't know how that went, but it feels like there was some conversation where the Warriors, okay, cool, we were always going to do it only at Golden One. We're not going to do the back and forth, the crisscross applesauce anymore. It's only going to be at Chase Center. Do y'all want to be in it? Obviously, you get first dibs. We kind of you started this thing. Do you want first dibs? And the Kings said no. And at least we can say the NBA didn't screw the Kings over again. The Kings made a decision.
Yeah, it sounds like two different things. One is the alternating sites, and then the second thing is the Kings declining to participate, knowing it was at Chase Center.
Right. Now, next season, you're kind of in a bind because, well, if obviously you're going to participate if it's at Golden One. But this season, hey, you can still make your way out to the Bay if you like watching the Miami Heat and whoever, Khalil Ware.
Dylan Harper.
You go watch Khalil Ware and close your eyes and dream that he's in a Kings jersey. 4 hours with you when we return. Oklahoma City Thunder, they win the Western Conference Championship. And the reality is this is one of the best teams that we've ever seen, even if it doesn't feel like it. Allen Stiles, Sacramento Sports.
I got to get business cards printed for my entire staff, but where do I even?
That was easy.
Oh, okay, Staples. But can I have bigger stuff printed too, like huge signs and banners?
That was easy.
Nice. And what if I had to ship a package?
That was easy.
Have my passport photo taken?
That was easy.
Coffee and snacks?
That was easy.
What about the latest laptops?
That was
Earbuds
easy.
and headphones?
That was
Office
easy.
chairs?
That was easy.
I think I also need to get some Staples.
Seriously?
I had to ask.
For everything your business needs to get the job done.
Staples. That was easy.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, plus free home delivery. Limited time. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Crosses over. Lifts the right corner, Wallace. Catch and shoot rainbow three is on the way. Cha-ching! A Thunder money ball at the buzzer. Oh, baby! What a setup by SGA for his fifth assist. 124-94 the final, a 30-point rout. Not a single day went by this season that Oklahoma City did not hold the best record in the West. And now this historic, relentless thunderstorm has unstoppably, emphatically, and officially earned the moniker best in the West. MVP, SGA and company say we will OKC you in the NBA Finals, baby. Blowing the Wolves out of the building, 124-94 in Game 5.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
You should only have 2 takeaways from the Western Conference playoffs this season. Only 2. I should say 2 main ones. The first one is that Nikola Jokic is insane the way he plays basketball. And the reason that is one of the 2 takeaways is because the second takeaway is that the Thunder are one of the most well-oiled machines that we've seen, I'd say, since the Kevin Durant Warriors. And obviously they don't have that same star power, but a well-oiled machine. I'm sitting there watching, just hoping, and it's not that I wanted the Timberwolves to win, anything like that. I just like watching good games. And I'm just pleading, oh no, it's all 2 minutes into the game, 3 minutes into the game. Okay, Timberwolves down 10. That's nothing. I think they were down 20 first quarter. Then you hit 30 and okay, baby Salisbury, you want to go get ice cream? This one is cooked. And some of the other takeaways that we're seeing, I'm texting my buddies, right? And obviously we went to high school together. This is who I go on the golf trips with. We're all from the Bay. So I get a text from my buddy in the group chat and it's, man, the Dubs should be playing right now. I said, brother, you might be right. You probably are right. But they would have got their butt whooped too. They would have got embarrassed as well. Maybe not like this. Maybe they get to 6. But that AARP team playing every other day against the Thunder, nah, bro. I don't. I think you can say you want that smoke, and it's hard to count Steph out, but I don't think you want that smoke. So the Timberwolves, everyone's bagging on the Timberwolves now. Man, the Timberwolves, I saw this the other day. The Timberwolves, they had a perfect matchup against the Lakers. They were the perfect team to take out the Lakers. Then they get the Warriors without Steph. Give me a break. Could have been any of these other teams. Yeah, and they all would have got their ass beat by the Thunder.
Every single team.
Every single one of them.
Even the Nuggets, who went to 7 games and have the best player in the NBA. So, Shea won the MVP, but Jokic is Jokic. Even they benefited from Dagnall fouling too quickly and Aaron Gordon hitting a prayer of a shot to win one of those games.
Yeah, if that doesn't happen, we're looking at that whole series differently.
They're down in 5. If not for that one mistake Oklahoma City has at the end, that's a 5-game series too.
So that's the takeaway. 2, Jokic is insane, and the Thunder will beat your favorite team badly. And that's it. I'm not going to sit here and talk, well, if Steph was, no. Well, if the Lakers, no. Okay? Nobody in the West was beating this Thunder team, and I do not know. Everyone's, it's not about the markets, right? And NBA fans and media, they obsess over these markets. NFL doesn't do it. Hockey doesn't do it. They'll get Ottawa, right? Edmonton, random Canadian cities. They don't care. They don't care who's in the Stanley Cup. That's how bad it was, Kyle. And throwback, I played hockey back in the day. Okay, roller hockey, a little bit of ice hockey. So I'll watch, right? And I have not watched in a very long time. I watched when it was USA versus Canada. What was that?
4 nations face off.
Was that earlier this year?
Yeah, that was during the Olympics.
Yeah, I watched that because that was a lot of fun. And when the Sharks are good, I'll watch the Sharks. I've been to hockey games. They're a lot of fun. I think one of the best live sports experiences to go to, even if you have the worst seat in the house. And I would know that because I was poor back then, and I took me and my girlfriend to the worst seat in the house. And we had a great time watching the San Jose Sharks. That's how bad it was last night. We changed the channel. You
went to watch Sam Reinhart, Florida Panthers.
I'm watching the Panthers take on the Hurricanes. That's literally what I did. And I saw a goal too. I was in.
Bark off.
I was in. That's how bad the Timberwolves were getting beat down. That's it.
That game was so fascinating because, you go into a game 5 at home. It felt like it was a bit of a coronation for the Thunder in a way, but you never know. Like, this is how 3-1 leads fall apart is you come out flat and then the momentum swings. Minnesota had 9 points in the first quarter of that game. They Alexander Walker missed bunnies. Mm-hmm. They had layups that were missed because Case and Wallace got there.
The Thunder turned Anthony Edwards into Donovan Mitchell. They turned him into Anthony Simons. Just chuck threes.
That's so disrespectful to Donovan Mitchell.
Just chuck threes.
Donovan Mitchell made first team All-NBA.
Yeah, and he's at home. They turned Anthony Edwards into Keontae George. That's what they did.
I could not believe that stat they said on the broadcast. The Timberwolves in that first quarter, which by the way, Oklahoma City didn't kill it. It was only 25-9, but in that first quarter, the Timberwolves had more turnovers than made shots from the field. 4 turnovers, 3 baskets.
I mean, Alex Caruso, and people are still saying, and Josh Giddey, I think it's a weird restricted free agent. The Bulls don't know what they're going to do. End of the season, right? Josh Giddey he was balling. And people thought, wow, again, one of those even trades, right? And nobody had been paying attention. And I'll give a shout out to Chris Watkins when he's in the building, because Chris has been on Alex Caruso. Everybody is on Alex Caruso, but Chris is saying, no, you don't understand who this dude is. And I think some of that is from the 2020 season. It's in the bubble. I think that Laker team gets overrated and underrated at the same time.
Well, and it's the fact that he looks like that.
Well, I don't know if it's that. I think that helps him as far as how he plays.
No, I think the reason people underrate him is because he looks like Elmer Fudd.
He looks like he should play like that, and he does. So Chicago Bulls, they're sitting there saying, oh, we got Josh Giddey. This was actually a good trade. And then you see what Alex Caruso, now you have to get to the playoffs. But Alex Caruso, it was embarrassing. Naz Reid, and he just continues to destroy his value. I know I say it every week because it just keeps going down. I can't wait to see what he signs for, because he can opt out. Naz Reid gets the steal. Alex Caruso just ran near him, and Naz Reid peed all the way down his leg.
Yeah.
He just drew it. Oh, hell no.
But you know what's so crazy about that? Because, like, I don't think we talked enough about how crazy it was in Game 7 against the Nuggets that they had Caruso guarding Jokic.
Yeah.
And it worked. But what's also crazy about this Thunder team, and there's some stats that back up just how good they are. They've got 3 Carusos.
Yes, they do.
They've got Lou Dort.
Yeah.
They've got Cason Wallace, and all of those dudes are just awesome at defense.
And Shea is not there because he's busy scoring, but he could be there. If Shea didn't want to score, he could be there defensively. That's what they said on the broadcast. Here's one defensive demon. Here's another defensive demon. I think Richard Jefferson at one point said how many demons they got, and that's the point. They have a ton.
They have 8 guys that are so good and so young, which is the most remarkable part of it. Like, Cason Wallace is younger than Devin Carter, and he was drafted at basically the same spot. I think he was the 10th pick in the draft. Like, look at what they've done with this young team to piece it all together. I looked it up last night just because I was curious. If you took just the run they've been on so far, the Thunder would have the 3rd highest net rating in a playoffs in the last 25 years of the NBA. The only team so far that have had a better run than them is the 2001 Lakers, who went 15-1, and the 2017 Warriors, who went 16-1 in the playoffs. They're better than every other team in terms of net rating. This is a historically good team on a historic playoff run.
And just when you think, okay, we got them right where we want them, Isaiah Joe hits a 3 in your eye.
That's Kenrich Williams.
That's exactly what it is. On the other side, Keith Smith breaks down the free agent point guards. And I think this is a really, really kind of fascinating breakdown, because we've been talking a lot about the free agent point guards. Let's hear how Keith Smith has them ranked based on value, based on cost or estimated cost, and all of that jazz. Also, Anthony Edwards, of course, says the loss does not hurt him. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Right, they're professional, they're high character.
They're idiots.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
The Memorial Day Race to Savings is on. Get the best deals of the season at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? During the Memorial Day Race to Savings, drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our number one priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Bring the whole family to Sutter Health Park for Sacramento River Cats baseball. It's more than a game. It's an experience your kids will never forget. Enjoy exciting action on the field, delicious ballpark food, and fun activities for all ages. From meeting Dinger the mascot to running the bases every Sunday, there's something for everyone. Create lasting memories with your family this season. Get your tickets at rivercats.com.
Get ready for a summer of music, comedy, and thrills with the Sacktown Sports Live events calendar. Kick it off with Punk Legends, The Damned at Ace of Spades, May 31st. Then laugh it up with comedian Kathleen Madigan at Hard Rock Live Sacramento, June 7th. Country fans, mark your calendars. Whitey Morgan and the 78s roll into town June 19th, followed by jam-packed June 21st. Tainted Love is at Ace of Spades. Lee Bryce and Walker Hayes are at Ironstone Amphitheater, and Penn and Teller are at Thunder Valley. Then it's 3 days of music and wine at the Country Summer Music Festival, June 27th through the 29th at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Don't miss the tradition and thrills of the Folsom Pro Rodeo, July 3rd through 5th, followed by country superstar Cody Johnson at Golden One Center, July 18th. August brings legends. Catch Rick Springfield August 1st and Parker McCollum at the Ironstone Amphitheater June 16th. Grab your tickets now and don't miss a beat. Only with Sacktown Sports.
Carmichael Dave here for my good friends at American Energy. As a native Sacramentan, I can tell you, not that you need to know, that it might be nice right now, but turn the corner. Oh my God, it's so hot. Yeah, you know, summer is coming. And my friends at American Energy want to make sure you are dialed with your AC unit. So how about this half off tune-up right now? It's a special going on, just $24.50 to get your air conditioner tuned up. A free diagnostic. And oh, by the way, if you need a new AC unit, up to $3,500 in rebates on qualifying system installations. That's right. They've been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1981. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Give them a call, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Here's the song.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Knowing what it's like to be on the winning side, how much does it hurt, and what does it feel like to come up short of the finals 2 years in a row?
It's exciting. I don't know why people would think it would hurt. I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm 23. I get to do it a whole bunch of times. I'm hurt more so for myself, for Mike. I came up short for Mike. Like I said, we tried last year. We couldn't get it. We tried again this year. We're going to try again next year. But hurting is a terrible word to use. I'm good.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
People were trying to bag on Anthony Edwards, and I saw a rebuttal was, well, just look at the ages, right? Show me a player that was doing what Anthony Edwards was doing or better than Anthony Edwards at that age. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 26, right? Anthony Edwards is not. Anthony Edwards is 23 years old. Okay, he is about to be 24 in August, but he's 23 years old. I will say this, though. I will say this. And we saw it happen with Jason Tatum. He did get over the hump eventually. That's the Boston Celtics, mind you, not the Minnesota Timberwolves. But time flies. And you go from being the young gun to the what the hell is going on with this guy pretty quickly. And I know it seems like I'm bagging on this dude a lot, but just ask Devin Booker, right? Again, Jason Tatum on the Celtics, that's a huge deal for how Jason Tatum's career played out. I'm not getting full-on Dan Marino vibes, but the one thing, I get it, you want to be confident, but the one thing you don't want to fall into is the assumption that this is going to keep happening. Don't make me say it. It's hot outside. But it ain't winter coming. Wemby is coming.
Yep.
So again, and look, maybe Anthony Edwards is not on the Timberwolves for the rest of his career. But the assumption that, and I get it, you should assume that you're always going to be in the mix. But brother was a 6 seed, right? And again, do they beat the Warriors with Steph? I don't know. So this assumption that I like it from the Anthony Edwards standpoint because that's how you should feel. But on the other side of it, you never know what could happen. We've seen this happen before with young talent where we just think they're going to be there forever, and they're not.
Well, let me give you a quick example of that because you mentioned, how many people get to back-to-back conference finals at 23 years old,
right,
et cetera. I mean, there's a handful. You got Kevin Durant went to the finals at 23. Tim Duncan went to the finals at 23. But you know who else got to this point at 23 years old? Luka Doncic, the guy that Anthony Edwards lost to last year in the conference finals, and the guy that I'm pretty sure their careers are going to be pretty intertwined for much of the next, 4, 5, 6 years. So I think he's on pace right now, but as James Harden and Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook can attest to, there's a difference between being that dude and being one of the 5 dudes.
Yeah, it's a great point. And, Anthony Edwards, his season ends the same way it started with everything that's happened in that roller coaster of a season. It ends the same way it started with him fighting double teams, praying that Julius Randle, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Naz Reid, or Jaden McDaniels can make a shot to save their life.
Or that Rudy's open.
Or that Rudy's open. The same way, and if I'm not mistaken, that's what kicked off their season. They were in LA, and then they came to Sacramento, and he was facing double teams. They did beat the Kings, of course, but they were facing double teams, struggling early. Julius Randle gets injured, comes back unconscious, and then regains consciousness and loses his jump shot, and they're done. After all that, and I know Karl-Anthony Towns plays today, so after all that, go check out that video. It just cracks me up. All the New Yorkers doing their best Karl-Anthony Towns impression.
How funny would that be? I think the Knicks are going to win tonight, but how funny would it be if the Knicks and Timberwolves made that trade and they both lose in 5 games in the conference finals?
Yeah, we were just talking about what if both of them got to the finals. That would be the even trade. That would actually be the even trade that everybody talks about. And you could argue if they both lose in 5, it's still an even trade.
They both ended up in the exact same spot.
Yeah, the same exact spot. All right, let's get to Spa Track and Keith Smith, friend of the show, 2025 NBA free agent. So here's a breakdown. 2025 NBA free agency is around the corner. This year's class is considered a fairly weak one in terms of top-end talent. However, there are still several impact players available. In these rankings, we took a similar approach to the one many teams use when it comes to ranking available players. Each position was broken down into tiers. The tiers are all-star. These aren't necessarily all-stars, but have the ability to be an all-star. Starters, rotation, and fringe. And the difference between rotation and fringe: rotation, these are solid players that should be in a team's regular season rotation. Fringe, these are players at the end of the bench or two-way players, mostly in the G League. So let's start here. And obviously these guys that are in the all-star tier, they are both, they're unrestricted free agents, but they have player options. So the two, and I really hope Dave is listening. I know he's in London, so probably not. Kyrie Irving, number 1 on Keith Smith's list. He is unrestricted free agent if he opts out. Number 2, who is not good enough for the Sacramento Kings, by the way. No, James Harden, you can't come here, according to Carmichael Dave and a bunch of Kings fans. Number 2 is James Harden in the all-star tier because, of course, he was an all-star. And, again, the Kings didn't have one.
He was all-NBA.
That's right. James Harden, this number 2 on Keith Smith's list, and that rounds out the all-star tier. Next in the starter tier, and I'll read the ones that I find a little bit interesting. Fred VanVleet, I will not be reading the update on Fred VanVleet or the write-up there. He has Fred VanVleet ranked number 3. Number 4, and the Kings love to do business with this team. We just mentioned him. Number 4, Josh Giddey. So he is a restricted free agent, But before you get excited because he is a young, tall point guard, here's the write-up. As he is a restricted free agent, Giddey isn't a threat to leave, as only the Brooklyn Nets have enough cap space to sign him to a large enough offer sheet to make the Bulls blink. That's not going to happen. Expect Chicago to try to squeeze Giddey some, but ultimately he'll be back with the Bulls on a long-term contract. So I got to admit, I read that and thought, oh, there was a relationship. Monty's gone now, but Josh Giddey, as Keith Smith lays out, not going anywhere. Next on the list, I'm sorry to the 510. Dennis Schroeder comes in at number 5, the Detroit Pistons unrestricted free agent. Dennis Schroeder is the first player on this list that is a threat to leave for a new team. Pistons would love to re-sign him, but Detroit's first priority is going to be re-signing Malik Beasley. Pending the path that takes, Schroeder could get squeezed out. Even as he moves towards his mid-30s, Schroeder remains a terrific backup and solid spot starter that should put him in the range non-taxpayer MLE deals. So that's number 5. It ain't me saying it. It's Keith Smith. These are free agents now, right? Not trade, no trade conversations, even though we do have a trade target coming up at 11. Undersized all-star point guard in the East. I saw somebody on the text line did guess it right.
UPS Chris?
UPS Chris did get it right, yes. Dennis Schroeder at number 5, okay? Number 6, I don't know if I need to read this write-up. Chris Paul, I'm not going to waste my time.
It's better than Tyus Jones.
Somehow, yes, Chris Paul, to be fair, is ranked in front of number 7, Malcolm Brogdon. And I will read this one. Brogdon's season was kind of a mess. He was hurt a lot, and the Wizards weren't focused on playing their vets too many minutes. Still, Brogdon can be a solid contributor as a 6-man or a low-usage starter. The vet's ability to play either guard, spot, on or off the ball will appeal to playoff contenders. You know, it's interesting. I kind of think of Brogdon more as a 2 guard than a point guard, but I guess he is technically still a point guard. Number 8, Russell Westbrook. He has a player option, though.
He's probably going to decline. I think it's like 2-point-something million.
I think, it's and there's just been a lot of drama there. So he has Chris Paul 6, and he's including value and everything like that. Chris Paul 6, Malcolm Brogdon 7, Russell Westbrook 8, and I know the name everybody's waiting to hear. You're not going to hear it right here. D'Angelo Russell at number 9, unrestricted free agent. Matt George, I was on the Locked On podcast late last week, and Matt George asked me about D'Angelo Russell. I joked and said he's kind of a poor man's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. What D'Angelo Russell thinks he looks like in his mind when he plays basketball. I'm at my own pace. I do what I want to do. He shoots way more threes than Shai, don't get me wrong, but he thinks he looks that cool when he plays basketball. But in my opinion, he does not. I watched him on the Warriors, which might have been the worst fit in the history of basketball. And I just don't think that he is a Doug Christie guy. He is allergic to defense. He is allergic to hustling. Okay. I just don't want him anywhere near my team. And that's just what it is. Here's the write-up. Number 9, D'Angelo Russell. Russell is a good and if he is on the Kings, I take all that back for media day. I just want to put that on record as well. Russell is a good as a low-end starting point guard as you can find. He can do enough on ball while being okay off ball that you can get by with him in your starting lineup. Russell might look for an opportunity with the contender, but that means taking the non-taxpayer MLE. There's a chance the Nets could give him a slightly bigger 1-year deal or 2 years with team control in year 2 as a way to hit the salary floor while retaining Russell as a potential trade asset. And rounding out the starter tier, we're finally going to get to him. Tyus Jones, unrestricted free agent. Last season didn't go the way Jones hoped it would. He took a vet minimum deal, but hoped with a strong year as a starter on a playoff team that more money might be available this year. Instead, Jones found himself coming off the bench for a bad Suns team. He's still among the best backup point guards in the league and capable fill-in starter. That should garner Jones some offers this season. We have the rotation tier coming up next, and an old friend will join us in that rotation tier. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot, 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 and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's.
Participating U.S. Wendy's. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co., LLC. Used with permission. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-646-5959. That's 800-646-5959. 800-646-5959.
During National Military Appreciation Month, we at University of Maryland Global Campus say thank you to the service members, veterans, and families who dedicate their lives to our country. We are deeply grateful. For over 75 years, UMGC has proudly served the military community, from installations overseas to the communities you call home. Wherever you serve, we stand with you. Learn more at umgc.edu/thanks. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chef.
Allen Stiles here with your Sacktown Sports injury update, brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. Gio Urshela was replaced on defense due to a hamstring injury. He will be placed on the 15-day injured list with no timetable to return. JT Ginn, out with that strained right quad, felt discomfort in that area, and the team is hopeful he can keep his arm in shape while the injury heals. There also is no timeline for his return. This injury update was brought to you by Downtown LA Law Group. Hey, I'm Allen Stiles. Have an injury? Call Downtown. Downtown LA Law Group, an injury law firm, has many happy clients in Sacramento and the surrounding areas who have called Downtown. Get paid for your injuries from slip and falls or auto accidents. One of their most recent settlements was $1.5 million for a motorcycle accident. Have you had an auto accident? Call Downtown. Text injury help to 40222. That's injury help to 40222 and visit them at calldowntown.com.
Live and local
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
(10:45), taking you up to 2 p.m. We are working our way through Keith Smith, and he has his breakdown for other positions as well. We're focusing on the point guard position today, as he has rankings as far as the available players, the type of money they may garner, and of course their value and how good they are. We went through the starter tier before the break, some of the names that stuck out to us. He has Dennis Schroeder as his 5th ranked point guard, unrestricted free agent, says that Detroit is possibly going to lose him because he believes they're going to prioritize Malik Beasley. Chris Paul came in at number 6. We know what that is. Malcolm Brogdon came in at number 7. Russell Westbrook, 8. D'Angelo Russell, 9. And Tyus Jones, who is a name that keeps getting brought up, 10. Now let's get into the rotation tier. So these are players that Keith Smith doesn't think will be starters or are starters, but can be in a playoff rotation and be a good contributor. At number 11, Ty Jerome, Cleveland Cavaliers. This one's interesting. Unrestricted free agent. Jerome stayed healthy and put together a career year. He'd like to stay with the Cavs, who would love to have him back. The challenge, Cleveland only has early bird rights for Jerome. that could limit their offer to him, which makes him available for teams looking for a very good bench guard. My fear with Ty Jerome is that we just saw his best season ever, right? And I don't know what that drop-off could look like. It's the same thing, Malik Beasley has had a heck of a career, but Malik Beasley just had a ridiculous season with the Pistons. Will he do that again? That's the fear. You look at even Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, that first year after he signed that huge contract, hey, well, he just set the American League record. We sure he's going to do that again? We know it's a long contract. He did not. He struggled with injuries that first season. Now, baseball's different because they signed for 20 years and they have children while they are on these deals. Look at Juan Soto. Still early in the season. He signed for $700 million. With the Mets, he looking more like Kyle's Padres when he was with the Padres than when he was with the Yankees.
He got on base a lot with the Padres.
A lot of walks.
A lot of
$700 million in walks. That's what we're paying for. So that scares me with Ty Jerome. I think Ty Jerome knows who he is, and I don't think that there's any conversation of, hey, I could be a starter now. That seems like something the Kings would try to do. You're going to be – that is not the second draft stuff that we're talking about, trying to make Ty Jerome the guy. That's not what we're talking about here, okay?
We're going to go through the list. I think there's like 3 or 4 of those where you're like, I don't know if we're going to try and make this guy the guy.
He could be the guy. He's not our guy. He's the guy off the bench. So number 11 for Ty Jerome and number 1 in the rotation tier. Number 2, the brother to Tyus Jones, another name that got brought up. So Keith Smith doesn't even have Trey Jones. He doesn't even think Trey Jones is really a starter. Obviously, he's a little bit younger than his bro, Tyus. Here's the write-up, unrestricted free agent. Much like his brother, Jones, really good as a backup point guard and a bit stretched as a full-time starter. That still leaves him as a really valuable player for a lot of teams that just might not be in Chicago due to the number of other on-ball playmakers the Bulls already have. Now, Trey Jones, and this is, look, we love Keith Smith, right? And I take what he's saying very seriously. You look, and I thought Trey Jones was younger than 25. This is what we have discussed before, 24 to 26, and Keith Smith saying, okay, this brother's 25 years old. I don't know that he is going to take a leap and be, from what we've seen so far, he is not a starting point guard or a starting point guard that's going to do a ton for you. His brother is 29, by the way. So I like what Keith is saying there. I think we've been talking about Trey Jones as making him a starter. Keith is saying, I don't know that he's that, but you wouldn't pay him to be that. If we're looking, and to Kyle's point, Ty Jerome, Trey Jones, you're going to take a chance on one of them being a starter. I guess you're going to say Ty Jerome, he's going to cost you more because he just had a better season.
The Trey Jones one is kind of easy for me because it's like, how would Kings fans feel if they got him? They could have had him in the De'Aaron Fox trade, and they chose not to get him, and no one cared that they didn't get him.
We got to look forward, Kyle. We got to look forward. I think my thing with Ty Jerome, I'd have to look up his assists. Every time I saw Ty Jerome on the Cavs, he was shooting. I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know how much of a playmaker he is. I know that Trey Jones is a playmaker because that brother will have 9 assists and is, 7 to Wemby, and the others are to Julian Champagnie. But I know that Trey Jones is a playmaker. Every time I looked up, Ty Jerome was shooting a 3.
3.4.
Yeah, no. How many? Now, please, can you check out Trey Jones for me?
Yeah,
and let me know. I know it's over. I think he's at the threshold. He's got to be. He's got to be.
Trey Jones last season had
got to be over
5. 4.9.
We'll take it. We're rounding up here. That's how I learned arithmetic. Next on the list at number 13, an old friend. Davion Mitchell comes in at number 3 in the rotation tier and number 13 overall. Miami, he's a restricted free agent. Miami can control the process for Mitchell in restricted free agency. That should leave the Heat in a place to get him back on a relatively team-friendly deal. Mitchell was really good for Miami after landing there at the trade deadline. Look for him to return to the Heat. Okay, so he's saying it ain't going to happen. Some of the other names here, I think we get the point. Number 14, Ben Simmons. Number 15, Jared Butler. I beg your pardon. Who are you? Number 16, Spencer Dinwiddie.
Won a national championship.
There you go. Number 17, Monte Morris, number 18, Trey Mann, number 19, Cam Payne. He is an unrestricted free agent. Please don't be Cam Payne. And we go all the way down to number 21, Corey Joseph. So I think the big surprise here, based on how Keith has them broken down, I would say the big surprise is Dennis Schroeder. I think seeing Dennis Schroeder at number 5 to me makes me feel like, I don't know that I've been disrespecting him, but maybe in general he's been a little disrespected. And it makes me even more confident that the Kings are probably going to get Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, I guess.
Or Chris Paul at number 6.
Yeah, those two feel like the most likely outcomes. I know some people were connecting Chris Paul to Portland potentially to mentor Scoot, but I think the bottom line is if you're getting any of these guys, they're probably not playing more than 20 minutes a game on the Kings. Maybe Dennis Schroeder, maybe D'Angelo Russell, but other than that, they might be starters, but they're more so they might be starters, but they're not going to be closers.
Yeah, it's at some point D'Angelo Russell's getting benched because there's just no defense and he's going to go cold offensively. Then it's going to be Keon Ellis, and then we're going to have that conversation. Then it's going to be D'Angelo Russell and Malik Monk on the bench, and does that make sense? So I'd rather not.
Yeah,
I'd rather not.
you see where this is going.
Yeah, we've seen this movie before on D'Angelo Russell on about 4 other teams.
Dennis Schroeder's probably the one that maybe bucks that trend only because shooting and point guard ball handling ability, but he's been on like 8 teams in the last 6 years.
Yeah, and some have been really good. Some he's looked like a starter. Some he's looked like he should not be in the rotation. One more note, I just thought this was interesting from Keith Smith. The Oklahoma City Thunder, and if the Pacers end up getting it done against the Knicks, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers would be the first NBA Finals since the luxury tax was in effect where neither team was a taxpayer. At least one team was a taxpayer in every finals where the luxury tax was in effect. In 2002 and 2005 did not have the luxury taxes due to lack of BRI. Overall, 26 of the 44 teams in the NBA Finals since the luxury tax was in effect have been taxpayers. 16 of the 22 champions since the luxury tax was in effect have been taxpayers. That's crazy.
Well, it makes sense, though, because what paying the luxury tax affords you is the opportunity to either make up for your mistakes or the opportunity to gain a competitive advantage versus other well-run organizations that aren't spending those couple extra dollars. And both of those, when we're talking about the super small margins at the end, actually do make a big deal.
5 non-taxpayer teams in the years the tax was in effect won the title. The Heat in 2006, the Spurs in 2014, the Warriors in 2015, the Warriors in 2017, and the Lakers in the bubble year in 2020. Those were the 5 teams. And speaking of the Thunder, who are just set up for success, here's the breakdown of the Thunder, okay? It's insane. They're the youngest team in the NBA at 24.2 years old. In 2025, the Kings don't have 1 first rounder, by the way. The Thunder have 2 firsts and 1 second. In 2026, they have 2 firsts and 1 second. In 2027, they have 2 firsts and 2 seconds. In 2028, they have 1 first and 3 seconds. In 2029, they have 1 first and 5 second rounders, at least 20 total picks, excluding protected picks over the next 5 drafts. The same way the CB, and I don't even know what they could do, but the Thunder have broke the system here, right? And I don't know that they're going to rattle off 5 championships. Most likely they won't. All these picks won't be great players, but they could turn them into currently good players or currently really good players. The same way the CBA kind of morphed itself to essentially attack the Warriors, if you will. I don't know what it could be, but do you see any type of protections trying to be put in place so that a team can't do what the Thunder just did? Or is this an unbreakable system just based on who you hit on?
It's not unbreakable because the entire model is going to be built on hitting and developing draft picks, which is a very difficult thing to do. And it gets harder, not once Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets the supermax, it becomes a lot harder for Oklahoma City. What Oklahoma City has found the hack of, which I think is underlying all of this, is they have the MVP of the league making the same amount as Domantas Sabonis, right? Making $15 million less than Bradley Beal. Right. They've hacked the system with the draft picks and the good drafting and everything like that, and being so young, but they also have the MVP of the league making $40 million for the next 3 years, and that's the bigger hack. I just also feel like there's always going to be people who beat the rules better than others. The rules change and other people adapt, but the Warriors got Kevin Durant because of holes in the CBA. The Kobe Bryant Lakers got Pau Gasol because of holes in the CBA, and the Oklahoma City Thunder happen to be exploiting it because of all the draft picks and everything else that they've worked on. I think there's always going to be teams that do it better than others.
Our trade target, our trade candidate coming up next, top of the hour, 11 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. Undersized all-star point guard from the Eastern Conference. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, plus free home delivery. Limited time. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your RV, RV wins.
What, are you going to take the RV to the lake or clean out your closet? RV wins! Putting the dishes away or taking the RV camping? RV wins! Cleaning the fridge or taking a trip to the beach? RV wins!
You might want to clean the fridge real quick because, mold.
We clean out the fridge, then take the RV out.
With Progressive, you can bundle your RV with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings in your RV. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers not available in all states and situations. With Progressive, renters can save on protection for the things that make your place yours, even things that don't make sense to everyone.
People always wonder why I don't get rid of my guitar since I never play. But it's like, what if I actually end up taking lessons? Sure, I've had it for 8 years, but if I get rid of it, then what will my New Year's resolution be next January?
Exactly. So bundle your renters and auto and save with Progressive and protect the things that make sense to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So we had a huge new business pitch.
Attention, all hands on deck.
When, boom, our only printer was fried.
Up in smoke. Like your chances of landing that account?
Well, I just sent the file to Staples. Devin, the print associate, was on it. She had it printed and bound same day.
So where's the drama?
There wasn't any. Staples made it super easy.
Inconceivable. For the product, services, and experts you need, Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
They say no two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app with over 16 million subscriptions sold? Well, we thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. She's an artist and absolutely a visual learner. She's doing a deep dive into our Babbel wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Malcolm is very much a type A, say it to my face, listening learner. So he checks with Babbel's speech recognition to make sure that accent.
Precio.
Keith's a real people person and a curious learner. So he loves Babbel's Culture Bites, full of insights and native knowledge about the language he's learning. Like what's served for Christmas dinner in Germany.
Glühwein, Weihnachtsgans und Christmasstollen.
Wherever you are, however you learn, Babbel is the best choice to break any language barrier. Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Summer's almost here, and so are popsicles, pool days, and a lot of smiling. Make sure your kiddo's smile is ready with a visit to Kids Care Dental and Orthodontics. Our expert team makes dental visits easy and fun with sensory-friendly hours for kids who need a calmer environment. We can also accommodate same-day treatments, and to save you time, if your child needs multiple treatments, we can often do them all at once. Appointments fill up fast, so don't wait. Beat the summer rush and schedule online at kidscaredental.com. That's kidscaredental.com, where healthy, happy smiles begin.
Skeeter here. Got a question. What's small and dark with white bands on its legs and bites during the day?
Mosquitoes. Hi, I'm Luz Maria Robles, but these are 2 new types of day-biting mosquitoes. They're invading our area and becoming a big problem.
And they can be dangerous.
But we're on it, so when you see them, report it at fightthebite.net. In the meantime, use insect repellent and drain stagnant water around your yard.
We're here to help with these day-biting mosquitoes.
Visit us at fightthebite.net.
Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the biggest selection, the best prices, and unbeatable customer service. Check them out online, sacsuperstore.com, for the guaranteed lowest price on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Open until 10 o'clock and right across from Hagen Oaks Golf Course. sacsuperstore.com.
KHTK-HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
Your flagship station for the Beam Team.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sacktown Sports 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
I need to put some respect on Jared Butler's name real quick. We were going through the different tiers. So he was on the Davion Baylor team.
Yes, he was their best player.
Yeah, he was on the Davion Baylor team. He played more games than a lot of the dudes that we've talked about here on this show as far as the trade candidates. 60 games for Jared Butler on that bad Sixers team.
And also that bad Wizards team.
Yeah, he averaged 9 points, 1.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 35% from the field, from 3, 44% from the field. He goes 6'3", so he's the perfect height if Monty McNair was still a little tall. If Monty McNair was still here, a combo, point guard, shooting guard. Like I said, sitting at 3.7 assists. So, not for me and not for what we're trying to do. He was drafted in the second round, but he could make a team happy. And he was he was in that rotation. He was towards the bottom of that rotation tier on the Keith Smith list. And this guy, I want to give a shout out to UPS Chris, who guessed correctly our Kings trade candidate of the day. This is a tough one. This is a toughie. Darius Garland of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Cleveland!
I didn't know if this is for you.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Darius Garland, nicknamed DG, the PG. I love those on Basketball Reference. He was drafted with the 5th pick overall in 2019. He went to Vanderbilt. He goes 6'1". Oh, my goodness. Monty McNair saying, get me back to Sacramento. A 6'1" guard? Where do I sign?
How can I give you all my draft picks?
Yes. Here. You want Devin Carter? Who else you want? So Darius Garland, 75 games. Feels like he played less. I know last season he had it was a weird eye situation going on. Feels like he played less because he did not play a ton in the playoffs. That's why it doesn't feel like he played 75 games. He played 75 games. He was an all-star this season. 20.6 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, 6.7 assists per game, 47% from the field, 40% from 3, 87% from the free throw line. And just taking a look at some of the deeper numbers here, he took 7 threes a game and shot it at 40%. He, again, was at 20.6. Last season, he was at 18 points per game. This was his second All-Star. He was an All-Star in 2022 when he averaged 21.7 points per game as well. This is a very, very tough one. Now, he already got his money, and let's not forget, we did not even know whether he would be on the Cavs going into this season because there was a report that he said, I kind of want to do my own thing. I know that we have Donovan Mitchell. It's either him or me. And we still don't know what happened. Apparently, Kenny Atkinson just has the gift of gab. He got both of them to stay. He got everyone to stay.
And Jared Allen.
I was going to say Jared Allen. It was going to be Jared Allen or Mobley. They all stayed, okay? And they stayed, and they were the number 1 seed. They dealt with some injuries.
Pretty much tells me they hated Bickerstaff.
Yeah, they dealt with some. Look, and that's to say, just because it doesn't work out one place, it can work out somewhere else. Number 1 seed, injuries. They did get outplayed by the Pacers, but there were injuries as well. We talked to a Cavs writer, last week, and he said, yeah, there were injuries for sure, but they got outplayed. Let's not make any mistake about it. Those are all the things we like about Darius Garland. We love the numbers, but do you love those numbers at $39.4 million a year? Because that's what he is owed next season. After that, he will make $42.1 million. After that, he will make $44.8 million. That will be at age 28. And then he'll be a restricted free agent or unrestricted free agent in 2028, 2029. It's so funny because I think there's a very obvious question here. Who would you bet on in having a better career, or who do you think has a higher ceiling? However you want to do this, because I'm torn myself. It's very, very similar. This guy's a little bit bigger. Tyrese Maxey or Darius Garland? Like, who do you trust more? Because you know who I trust more.
Yeah, I think Tyrese Maxey is the most overrated player in the NBA.
I know, and we did Tyrese Maxey while you were out,
yes,
by the way.
I noticed that, by the way.
I wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, and
wasn't on purpose.
Tyrese Maxey he's one most improved player just because he chucks shots.
But I feel like both of those guys are in the same vicinity, and you're just taking a bet on they're better than the Anthony Simons. They're better than those types of players. But are any of these guys going to be 1As on championship teams? I think they're all just really good number 2s. No, I think they're championship. Is Darius Garland championship number 2? I have no clue.
Well, he was the number 3 on this Cavs team, and
they're at home.
Yeah, it's so funny that you said that, because I went back to our point guard hierarchy that I came up with, a few weeks ago, and literally I have Darius Garland as the last person in tier 2, and Tyrese Maxey as the first person in tier 3. Okay. So those two are literally the cusp of like the lowest end of number 2s. I don't think Tyrese Maxey can be a number 2 on a championship contending team.
That's a conversation for a different day.
But Darius Garland probably should be. See, this is what's so crazy about him
I think you said he was kind of the number 2, the number 3 option. I mean, the Cavs were just rolling offensively, but I feel like he was the number 2 option.
Yeah,
all-star.
But they have the weird thing where it's like Mobley is their second best player,
right?
But his strength is being the best defensive player. It's kind of like Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson a little bit. And it's like one is such an offensive savant and the other is such a defensive savant that it's, a little different. But Darius Garland is right on the cusp of a number 2. Like, I think De'Aaron Fox is better than Darius Garland. Do I think Darius Garland can do things like De'Aaron Fox? Yes, I believe that to be true. It's just,
well, and he did get called out, and this is mostly based on stature. And I think there was a whole thing where Darius Garland called out Tyler Hero, saying we were hunting Tyler Hero against the Heat. Then Darius Garland proceeded to, I don't know if he played again in that series. Tyler Hero comes back and says, how can you say that when people hunt you out? There was actually some numbers that came out that said a lot of teams attempt to hunt out Darius Garland, but he's not as bad defensively as you would think a 6'1" point guard is. With that being said, if we're talking about overall package, De'Aaron Fox is obviously a better defender than Darius Garland, and I don't know that that's very close.
Sure. I just kind of was making the point that Garland can bring the same level. Like De'Aaron Fox was like a 1A, 1B. Darius Garland is not as good as De'Aaron Fox, but can do many of the De'Aaron Fox things.
And you know how old he is?
24?
25.
Okay,
just
25.
throw them all. They're all in that pile together.
Yeah, him, Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox. I kind of think of them all as that like bottom end of tier 2. We joked before. There's 6 guys that are all basically the same, right?
Yeah.
Like. It's Jamal Murray, it's De'Aaron Fox, it's Ja Morant, it's Darius Garland, it's Kyrie Irving. Just all put them in a pot, and they're all capable number 2s.
Right, Kyrie Irving now, obviously.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving today. You can put them all in there, and they're all capable 2s. Looking up the defensive numbers, he was a net negative defender, but you're right, He's not Jalen Brunson.
No, he's not. He's not a traffic cone. A couple reports coming from Chris Fedor, who covers the Cavs for Cleveland.com. Here's the first one. Here's the quote. I think the two untouchables for the Cavs are Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. I've been getting the sense that the Cavs would be more willing to entertain and at least consider possibilities for Jared Allen and Darius Garland than they have in the past. So they tried it, successful, but it don't mean anything if you ain't got that ring. He also went on to report, I think there's a framework, and this is pretty big. I think there's a framework of a deal between the Cavs and the Magic that would involve Darius Garland and Jalen Suggs. Obviously, the Magic would be getting more than just Jalen Suggs, but if the Cavs get,
you're saying the Cavs get more?
Yes, the Cavs would get more than just Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, I mean,
are they going to get Anthony Black and tick me off?
I mean, if you have Darius Garland, what's the point of having Anthony Black? I'd have to look at the Magic to figure it out, but I'm guessing it's probably like Jet Howard and some picks.
And you get what? So you have Darius Garland and you have Cole Anthony. That is the smallest point guard rotation in the NBA. So you have Cole Anthony coming in for Darius Garland.
Oh no, Jalen Brunson and Campaign would like a word.
That's true.
That's pretty small.
Don't disrespect Landry Shamet like that ever again.
He's not a point guard. Landry Shamet is a 2 guard. Anyways, the interesting thing about the Cavs of it all is like they could almost in a way learn from what the Sacramento Kings did, which is like you can't trade Darius Garland and not get a point guard back. Like I know Donovan Mitchell can ball handle, and when Garland was out, they put him at the 1 and Ty Jerome at the 2, basically. But they do kind of, if they're going to move on from Garland, I think they want to get a point guard in return, like Ja Morant or Trae Young, right? I think the Trae Young flip, their defense would suffer, but that's one that like makes more sense if you're Cleveland, if you're trying to get under tax.
Yeah, I'm really not. I really need to know. And Jalen Suggs, I feel like I see that brother more with Haley Van Lith than I do on the basketball court. The last time I saw him, he had hair and he was on top of a table.
Yeah, he's been out for, I think, since like December, but they did sign him to like $120 million extension.
Crazy. When we return, what would the Kings have to give up to get one Darius Garland? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Throwback Thursday here on Sacktown Sports. Allen Stiles taking you up to 2 p.m. And we are throwing it back to when the Kings had a functional point guard. That is the hope here as we are looking for deals to acquire one Darius Garland. Darius Garland, 2-time All-Star, coming off a great season. He was injured when it mattered the most for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they are in Cancun. Now, how many NBA players, did you see Draymond say, can you afford to go to Cancun when he was doing the TNT broadcast and somebody tried to roast him saying, shouldn't you be in Cancun? Draymond said, can you even afford to go to Cancun? Which is a good roast, by the way. How many NBA players actually go to Cancun? Because if it were me, I would be more in that Draymond, LeBron hype. If I could afford it, yeah, make fun of me. I don't care.
Well, that's the thing that I've thought about is if you go to Barbados or you go to Cancun place,
right,
you're gonna get made. If someone photographs you in actual Cancun, you're gonna never hear the end of it.
I'm not built like that, but I'd like to believe I am. If I was a millionaire, I feel like I would be. All right, let's talk about somebody who is getting after the paper right now. That's Darius Garland, coming off a great season, and there are some question marks. There was some infighting between him and Donovan Mitchell that was reported. It's either him or me, and then all of a sudden they sang Kumbaya with Kenny Atkinson, and they get all the way to the 1 seed and then become the Atlanta Hawks with Jeff Teague and lose in the second round. So now questions have come up about the Cavs wanting to pay less money, as a lot of people would like to do, and still get that same type of offensive punch, but at the same time hasn't been working, right? At least not at the highest level. So Kyle, even though he's connected to the Orlando Magic and we're not really sure what else will be on the table, Jalen Suggs has been discussed, but we know it would be more than that. He's been connected to the Orlando Magic and connected to a couple other teams in the league. What would the Kings have to give up to get Darius Garland? And I'm curious how I'm going to feel about these trades.
Yeah, we got 2 trades. The one the Kings give up is pretty similar to the Ja Morant, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball type of package that we've been coming up with, which I will also preface, the Kings don't have the best trade package on the table for Darius Garland. I'm going to give you what they
I don't think you had to preface that.
Yeah. Like, they do not have... Yeah. They will get outbid immediately in the Darius Garland race unless the Cavs decide they want draft picks, right? Because the thing the Kings can offer that other teams can't for a star is draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the Cavs want draft picks.
Not right now.
At this stage of the game. The trade that I think would be so perfect for both sides is Darius Garland go to Memphis, Ja Morant go to Cleveland. That would be just perfect for both sides if they could make that happen. Not saying they can. I just think switch each other's problems. I think you would feel a lot better.
Okay.
For the Kings, the deal would be the Kings give up DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, Devin Carter, their 2026 first-round pick, and the Minnesota unprotected 2031 first-round pick. So you give up 2 starters, essentially, your first-round pick from last year, your first-round pick next year, and the 1 premium pick that everyone thinks could turn into a lottery pick based on how Minnesota looks in 6 years.
And it's not just Darius Garland.
Yeah, that's the other part. You get Isaac Okoro as salary filler.
He can defend, though.
Sure, but he's overpaid.
Sure.
So you also get the salary filler of Isaac Okoro.
Put some respect on Isaac's name.
Who I will always remember as the last news that Woj broke before he retired was Isaac Okoro's 3-year, $40 million extension.
Darius Garland, Isaac Okoro for DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, Devin Carter, 2026 first rounder, 2031 first rounder. Obviously, I've been pretty open. I'm not the biggest Darius Garland guy. Because here's the thing. All of these 24 to 26-year-olds, even though Shea is now 20, Shea is 26 or 27, so he basically did the rise. He's a little bit quote-unquote later, but he did the rise during 24 and 25 and 26, maybe even 23. So I'm not expecting Darius Garland to net you a Shea type value. The question is, how good do you think Darius Garland is going to be? Me personally, I'm torn because I think the Kings do get more talent, and I do think Isaac Okoro could help at least a little bit. It's the 2 first rounders that's really holding me up about that. I don't know that I want to pay that much for Darius Garland. So now let's do the flip side of it. So now you have Darius Garland as a starter. You're just going to start Keon with him.
Garland, Keon, Levine, Keegan, Sabonis. And then off the bench, you would still have LaRavia, Valanciunas, Isaac Okoro, and whoever your backup point guard
I think that it's, again, about Darius Garland. Do you think he will be that dude? I just don't see, my favorite game, the trio of Darius Garland, Zach LaVine, and Sabonis. Is that worth – so DeMar DeRozan, we know he's probably going to be gone anyway. But is that worth giving up DeMar DeRozan, Malik, Devin Carter, and 2 first-rounders? It's got to be for me personally, for Tyrese Maxey. Let's talk, because I'm higher on Tyrese than Darius Garland. I'm not as high on Darius Garland. You are getting Isaac Okoro. This is a toughie, Kyle, and I know we want to get to the second one as well. Am I crazy to say no? Am I crazy? Because I know you made it an aggressive deal.
So it's tough, because what this would essentially do is like give you a do-over with the team from last year, right? Swap out De'Aaron Fox. And again, I don't think Cleveland would necessarily do this trade, not because it's a bad trade, but because it's draft pick heavy. And I don't think Cleveland is in a position to go develop Devin Carter and take future draft picks.
Right.
Maybe I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like what Cleveland would want. If you make this deal, you essentially give up for Darius Garland what you got for De'Aaron Fox. So you're essentially just swapping out Fox for Garland, which honestly, if the Kings had just waited, maybe De'Aaron Fox for Darius Garland would have been on the table this summer. I don't know, but that's kind of the weird limbo that they find themselves in. Is, are you just doing a do-over with the team you tried to create last year?
All right, what is the second trade?
All right, so the second trade is, I guess, more plausible only because Cleveland needs a point guard, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a point guard from a third team to replace Darius Garland. The one I chose is...
Okay.
So Drew Holiday is going to go to the Cavaliers. In this scenario, we're going to say Boston is taking a gap year, and they're going to take DeMar DeRozan for $25 million. They get out of the contract after next year. They get flexibility when Jason Tatum comes back, right? So if Boston chooses to go the gap year route, then the deal would be Boston getting DeMar DeRozan, Keon Ellis, and Chuma Okeke from the Cavs. The Cavs get Drew Holiday, Malik Monk, Devin Carter, and the Minnesota first. So the Kings hang on to a first rounder. And the Kings end up with Darius Garland, Max Strus, and Nimi Keita, original Beam teamer. Welcome back. So that would leave the Kings with, if my math is correct, Garland, LaVine, Strus, Keegan Murray, Sabonis, and then backup point guard Jake LaRavia, Jonas Valanciunas, and
it's a lot.
Keita.
I've never seen Max Strus make a three when it mattered.
He shoots 40%.
Let's see that break. How many he made in the fourth quarter?
He has more 0 for 10 playoff games than I think I've ever seen.
I don't like this deal either.
This one's harder because you're giving up more in the short term.
Right.
You're adding in Keon Ellis because that's what Boston would want, but you get to keep the draft picks. So you can potentially trade the draft picks for PJ Washington or something. Like say they keep that 2025 first and then flip it for PJ Washington. Then you would have Washington as the starting three and Strus coming off the bench?
I don't know, man. I don't think I'm doing any of these deals. Maybe that's just an exercise in me being not as high on Darius Garland as some others are. Great stuff, Kyle, for cooking that up. When we return, a new team has entered the chat in terms of DeMar DeRozan. We'll tell you who it is when we return. Down south, Sacktown Sports.
Carmichael Dave here for my good friends at American Energy. As a native Sacramentan, I can tell you, not that you need to know, that it might be nice right now, but turn the corner. Oh my God, it's so hot. Yeah, summer is coming. And my friends at American Energy want to make sure you are dialed with your AC unit. So how about this? Half off tune-up right now. It's a special going on, just $24.50 to get your air conditioner tuned up a free diagnostic. And oh, by the way, if you need a new AC unit, up to $3,500 in rebates on qualifying system installations. That's right. They've been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1981. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Give them a call, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Here's the song.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Hagen Oaks wants to be your go-to total golf game fitter. Try the TrackMan experience, the very best technology to fit your metalwoods and irons. The new cutting-edge putter fitting studio with its $30,000 worth of technology is ready for your fitting. Hagen Oaks will help you find the best putter for your game. Hagen Oaks offers more technology, more choices, and more service. Schedule your fitting at the Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio by calling 916-808-2531, 808-2531 for more.
At Valley Strong Credit Union, we know that local businesses are the backbone of the Central Valley, investing in our neighborhoods, boosting the economy, making the Valley stronger. But when it comes to their finances, where can they turn? A big bank that just sees another number? That's not good enough. Valley businesses deserve Valley support for payroll, credit, cash flow, and everything in between. Valley Business is Valley Strong. Learn how our cash management services can support your business at valleystrong.com.
Whitey here for Napoleon Grills, reminding you that when buying a new grill, every detail matters. While supplies last, you'll receive a $149 gift with purchase on every new Napoleon Prestige stainless steel grill. The kit even includes a pizza lover starter kit and much more. And now up to $79 off Napoleon Rogue models. Napoleon grills are built different, built better, built to last, with a lifetime warranty and premium steel that boasts amazing quality. Visit Green Acres Nursery today for your best selection of Napoleon grills and accessories.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
Typically, a high handicapper carries an index of 20 or more. Golf Monthly's Barry Plummer offers 4 tips if you're tired of that high handicap. First, choose the right equipment. Invest in a 5-wood, which is more forgiving than a 3-wood or 3 hybrid. It's a much better option for getting the ball in the air. Second, play for bogey on par 5s. Break the longer holes into manageable chunks, perhaps aiming to hit the green with 4 easy swings while also navigating away from the trouble along the way. 3, leave the sand wedge in the bag for chipping. Up and down percentages are almost twice as good when chipping a 9-iron over a sand wedge, and 3.5 times better with the putter. And finally, stop leaving your putts short. A 20 handicapper leaves 55% of their missed putts short of the hole. Give yourself a chance with every attempt and don't leave another putt short. Try these simple tips and let's see whether your handicap starts to come down. And have some fun out there. That'll help too. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
Maida Chevy saves you $8,000 off MSRP on new 2025 half-ton Silverado LT and RST after rebates. Year-end savings on now with $8,000 off new Silverados at MaidaChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
See dealer for details. Catch all of the summer action with the Sacramento River Cats. Secure your summer segments of the Cats Pass. 18 games for just $59 with access to the Sky River Casino Solon Club and the best views of the city. Secure your Cats Pass at rivercats.com.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sacktown Sports.
"30 minutes, we will be joined by Brendan Nunez and Chris Watkins. Like I said, I always say this about Brendan Nunez. If you ask the right questions, you'll find out some things you did not previously know.
Got to butter them up.
You ask the right questions, and I'm very good at this, and Brendan knows I am. So now I gotta snake through it as well. So, whether it's about things that have happened in the past, whether it's about where he thinks things are going, throw me some questions, 916-339-1140, and I'll figure out how to butter them in a way that we can just weave them in and kind of trap Brendan into giving us information that he probably didn't want to give us.
Jeremy Lamb question?
That's right. No, that is not right.
If you butter him up enough, you think you can get it?
That's right. As we kind of move on now to something that we didn't see coming, or at least I didn't see coming, when we spoke with Brett Siegel yesterday. And every time Brett Siegel comes on the show, he is a a fan favorite. He is a listener favorite. Go check that out on YouTube. And everybody always is on pins and needles when Brett has some things to say. So Brett hopped on the show yesterday. Check that out on the Sacktown Sports app as well. And he brought up a team that we were not thinking about, and I'll just say the collective we, in terms of DeMar DeRozan. And it's another team where one of your main scorers has now gone down, and you have to find a way to keep your star happy. And that team, the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, obviously, it is on record that Giannis may or may not stay in Milwaukee. A couple different decisions to make right there. And once those decisions get made, we will have that conversation. This was Brett operating with the understanding that Giannis could stay. And if he does stay, we can have that conversation about what that says about Giannis. But if he does stay, what that means for the future of the Bucks, who will be without Damian Lillard for, I would assume, the whole season. That he's going to try to come back early. They always do. This is no joke. And Dame is what, 35 years old, maybe even 36, between 34, 35, 36.
Same age as Kobe Bryant.
Same age as Kobe when he did it. So if Giannis says, I still want to stay, my family likes it here, we get another championship, that's cool. Let's just see what we can do. At least we're in the East. I don't want to deal with the West. I don't want to go to Brooklyn. I just saw the Speedy, who does, he is a interviewer. He does a lot of content for Complex. He showed off a $7,000 a month apartment in New York. Okay, so, and it is not what $7,000 should look like. So Giannis, even Giannis, with his kids, and he wants more kids coming as well. I don't know that I want to do the New York thing.
Sure, but remember the original report was he owns property in New York.
I understand that.
And that's why he's going to the Nets.
I understand that. So, hey, I want to stay in Milwaukee. So does that make sense? And Kyle, we went back and forth and we kind of joked about I don't know if it's a fan favorite or someone that the fans just got very tired of. I got Fanspo open right here, Kyle. And yeah, because of Bobby Portis's player option and DeMar DeRozan and his $24.7 million, which some days looks like a lot of money, some days does not look like a lot of money, depending on who you're moving him for. Kyle, is the real path here to get Dame? Because I see two paths. The first path is Kyle Kuzma, which I don't like that path. The other path is to eat next season with Dame's contract. He's 34, by the way. Sorry, Dame. To eat Dame's contract and pay him $54 million to do nothing, no disrespect. And then next season, it's his last season, and then you get all that money off the books. If they could even pull that off. I haven't cooked up any of this, but this is all based on Brett Siegel, kind of the one nugget that he gave us. He gave us a lot of nuggets, but the one nugget that stuck out to me was DeMar DeRozan to the Bucks. Those are the only two options I'm seeing, Kyle. Am I missing something?
They would have to trade Malik Monk, but other than that, it would be possible. But at that point, like you said, you're just signing Dennis Schroeder and giving up on the season.
You're rebuilding, and then at that point, if Zach LaVine is still going to opt in because it's just a ton of money, but Domantas Sabonis is saying, what are we actually doing?
Well, and the other tough part is like, okay, so you would only do that to get draft picks attached, right? Bucks don't have those. The Bucks literally don't have a first-round pick from 2026 until 2031. So unless you're getting the 2032 Bucks first-rounder, there's really
they're
nothing
in such a bad situation. Everything just 1 year. Bobby Portis player option, Kyle Kuzma $22 million, Giannis 54, Dame 54. Yeah. I think they're in a shady because they have Giannis. They tried, right? I think the Suns tried too. I think the Bradley Beal thing just looks really bad, but they're in a really bad spot. Not as bad as the Suns, but you could argue, well, they both have. Couldn't you make the argument that the Suns have better assets than the Bucks? They got Booker and KD.
Oh yeah, I mean in that respect, I think take out the Giannis of it, because like the Giannis, that's that could reset the whole thing. You could get all your draft picks back. You could get a young player,
right?
Ignoring the Giannis aspect of it. The Bucks are in a weird spot where this is the repercussions of being quote unquote all in for 7 years in a row, right? They spent all their money, then they traded all their draft picks, then they traded all their draft picks again for Damian Lillard, which I understood why they did it, but they should have kept Drew Holiday instead of trading him to get Dame. They should have given up Chris Middleton and put Holiday, Lillard, and Giannis together. I think that one mistake has kind of been the fallout of everything since then. And they just took on Kuzma's contract. They didn't draft any first rounders in the last 2 years. I would say the Suns are probably worse off, but it's not great for Milwaukee they would essentially have to sign free agents next summer,
right,
to make up for that. They can't do it this year, but it would be like next year all the money would be off the books, and so they could sign whoever the Jonathan Kuminga of next summer is.
Would you do, okay, let's just play the game, because we haven't played the game with this guy in a long time. And he was really bad in the playoffs, and he was really bad with the Bucks. But could I interest you in Kyle Kuzma if it came, and I don't even, like you said, I don't think the Bucks even have a pick swap, but is there anything you could be persuaded with to take Kyle Kuzma, basically because Kyle Kuzma makes $22 million, DeMar DeRozan makes 24.7, and I know that the Bucks probably can't take on any more money, so they'd have to give you something else. You got, or maybe they could because they're only paying 3 people. I don't know. I mean, AJ Green. Can I give you an AJ Green?
I think the other one is Andre Jackson Jr. I think is the one I feel like I could turn into something. If it helps also.
Yeah, he's 23.
They've got pick 47 in this year's draft. So you want pick 47 and 42 and see if we can find something there.
Well, DeMar for Kyle Kuzma does work straight up in Fanspo, by the way. But I think that if you're the Kings, Kyle Kuzma has just depreciated so much. Yeah, you're going to give us.
I'm leaving there with something.
And if you're the Bucks, fine, you can have Andre Jackson, who is a 6'6" shooting guard who's 23 years old. Fine, you can have him because we're still going all in anyway.
I think the most likely path, if this were to happen, is Bobby Portis sign and trade. So Bobby Portis signs $18 million for 3 years with the Bucks. They trade him and I don't know, like Pat Connaughton or something to the Kings for DeRozan. That's probably, if it's going to happen, and I'm not saying it will, I think that's probably the most likely path. Now, would Kings fans feel good about getting Bobby Portis for DeMar DeRozan?
I think so. I think so.
Would they feel better if it were RJ Barrett? Would they feel better if it was Andrew Wiggins?
Well, again, I think, and at that point, right, I'm just looking here. If you told me going back to your boy Andre Jackson Jr., because he's 23, if you said, hey, we're gonna lose, because DeMar, you're gonna lose that score and you got to find that somewhere anyway. If you told me, hey, the Bucks are going to trade Bobby Portis and Andre Jackson Jr., because here's the difference to your point. The reason you were probably getting Andre Jackson Jr. is because of Kuzma's depreciated value. But if you say, hey, Bucks, you're screwed, right? You're not screwed because you're keeping Giannis. But Bobby Portis and Andre Jackson for DeMar DeRozan, I think Kings fans would be ecstatic. Yeah. I don't know about ecstatic, but they'd say, I'm good.
Yeah, I can work with that.
I can definitely work with that.
Yeah, because then you could still sign LaRavia, and then you would have LaRavia, Bobby Portis, and Jonas Valanciunas. That feels like a pretty lengthy team.
Yes, and you go get number 5 on Keith Smith's list. You go get Dennis Schroeder, and you're doing what the ownership wants them to do. That's not what what all fans want them to do. Some fans want them to blow it up. Some fans would like this, but this is what we are being told. And Bobby Portis, the connection with Scott Perry from New York. This is what we're essentially being told the Kings are going to. This is a best case scenario, one of the better case scenarios if the Kings are just going to refuse to start all over.
Yeah, this is just another team we can add in to the list of deals we've been creating, right? We've tried to make it John Collins, Bobby Portis, Tobias Harris, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, RJ Barrett. You can pick Andrew Wiggins. You know, we've been trying to find like that type of deal. Right. Milwaukee would just be another team in that mix of like, hey, we're just going to get their $15 million player and some salary filler. And now we have either length or a point guard in exchange for DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle on MTV Challenge, right? You're just trying different things, seeing what works, even though it looks like the same piece, it's slightly different. You got to look at it really closely and then, okay, maybe that one works a little bit more. When we return, we were just talking about the Suns. There's a player that I reference on this show a lot, and I feel like I know exactly what's going to happen to his career, and Kyle's going to try to stop that from happening. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So we had a huge new business pitch.
Attention, all hands on deck.
When, boom, our only printer was fried.
Up in smoke, like your chances of landing that account.
Well, I just sent the file to Staples. Devin, the print associate, was on it. She had it printed and bound same day.
So where's the drama?
There wasn't any. Staples made it super easy.
Inconceivable. For the product, services, and experts you need, Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-961-5544. 800-961-5544.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California, Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip: if a firm presents as local but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton & Price.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Well, when the A's broke their losing streak to finish the last homestand, it was a special day for Logan Davidson and Willie MacIver. Each guy got his first major league hit. And for MacIver, who grew up an A's fan, he drove in the go-ahead run in the bottom of the eighth inning and threw out the potential tying run to end the game. A storybook finish to a special afternoon. Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. It's how retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing must-visit shops. And it's how healthcare offices become data-managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business.
Want the best movie experience in town? Join Sacktown Sports IMAX Pass by visiting sacktownsports.com. Sign up today. You can win tickets to see this week's films at the Esquire IMAX Theater.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
In 45 minutes, we will be joined by Brendan Nunez and Chris Watkins. Talked about the Bucks. Now we're going to talk about the Suns a little bit. The only team that kind of saved the Kings. They just were playing hot potato with Who's gonna get talked about more? Who's destroying their PR more? You go. Now you go. Now you go. Now you go. And Maverick said, I want to play too. The Mavericks played for a little bit. Then they got the first overall picks. So the Mavericks left. So now it's just back to the Suns and the Kings. You go. Now you go. Now you go.
Well, the Mavs might pop up again soon.
They might. You never know. And by the way, California Classic, if you're just now joining us, the reports that they did not want to stretch the team and the coaching staff too thin with the California Classic and then Summer League in Vegas. So didn't want to stretch that too thin. That is why the Kings will not be participating. That is a report that is from our own Kyle Draper. Here is Brian Windhorst, and this is what he had to say about one Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, I'm like 98% sure he's not going to be a Sun next year. How it works out, though, I'm about 1% sure. There's going to be a number of teams interested, but some of it is going to depend on whether they see Durant as a player they keep on a one-year contract or if they want to get him and give him a contract extension, which I suspect he's going to want.
So we've talked a lot about Kevin Durant, and I want to take a different approach in this conversation because I want to talk about the other guy on the Suns, the guy who only knows the Suns. I want to talk about Devin Booker. And this is my breakdown, and Kyle loves Devin Booker. And I've been kind of hard on Devin Booker. This is my breakdown of D-Book, okay? So KD goes to a contender. The Suns get back picks and some decent talent. Devin Booker plays meaningless basketball. We all feel bad for him. And then the Suns trade him after the age of 30 for 40% less of what they would have gotten if they moved him when they should have. That is the Devin Booker story to me right now. It's not Damian Lillard, but it's kind of Damian Lillard in a way. And he doesn't ask out. He just lets people feel bad for him. Because I've always said, if you're not winning championships, the best place to be is just a chill area where nobody is really on your case, on your back, and you just get to enjoy your millions. Arizona, I like to golf. I don't know if Devin Booker does. He's in his lowriders. He's got his shades on. He releases the same shoe 8,000 times. He's got 8,000 different colorways. I think that he's just chilling.
Well, and you also have a psycho owner, so it's like, well, it's not his fault. Well,
yeah, Devin's won in spite of this guy.
Honestly, he's had two psycho owners, so it's like, you know what? It's not his fault. Look at all the you know what he's dealing with there, which honestly, that could have been the life for De'Aaron Fox. I know he wanted more with his career, but that could have been the life. He could have had his nice little house out there in Folsom and just been kicking it in the 9 seed after they traded Domantas Sabonis. You know, it could have been the life.
That's how this thing is going to end, right? They're going to, because they've already said, and what the Rockets could do, they could say, hey, Jalen Green ain't our guy. Okay, let's go get Devin Booker. The Rockets reportedly, now maybe they're playing chicken with the Suns. The Rockets reportedly are not interested in Devin Booker anymore. I think they probably got a leak of what the price was right now. They said, that's too much. We'll take our chances. The Suns, on the other hand, Matt Ishbia, they do not want to. It's a battle of the we will refuse. Who tanks first, the Suns or the Kings? Neither of them want to tank. So because of that, they're basically saying we can't move Devin Booker. We like people in the seats. We like the belief that we are going to do something. We can fix this. I don't know how. Will you ever mess up a drawing or you mess up some type of art project that you're doing and you don't want to start over because you're a little too far gone? So you keep saying, well, I can fix it if I just erase this and do that. We can fix it, and you should just crumble up the paper and start over. Neither team, the Kings nor the Suns, want to do that. And I think Devin Booker is kind of reaping the benefits because he could come out and he's past the point where each player gets to this point, if they haven't won a championship, to where we will no longer be upset with you, right? Kevin Durant obviously didn't get to that point with the Thunder, and he went to the Warriors. But Dame Lillard got to that point. Dame Lillard probably waited too long. I already think that Devin Booker could come out tomorrow and say, I want out of whatever this is. And I don't think Phoenix Suns would say, man, some would because fans are crazy, but I think about 70% would say, I don't really blame him. What are we doing? At least we get to start over. And I think he's just chilling.
And you're specifically talking about situation. Well, I shouldn't say that either. Where because like Giannis at this point, Bucks fans would be like, we get it.
We get it. But that's how Dame, they said we get it because Dame, I think, they were saying we get it about 3 years before Dame decided to bounce.
Dame spent 2 years in the rebuild because they had, Shaedon Sharpe was the pick, and then they took they had Scoot Henderson before they traded Dame.
And I think Dame is a cautionary tale to a Devin Booker, and it all depends on how much you want to win. But look at Dame. He waits those couple years, and now he's 34. Now he's 33, 34, 35 playing with Giannis. Pop goes the Achilles, and now you're cooked.
And you're obviously playing a difficult game when it's a trade, right? Mm-hmm. When it's free agency, that's a different game. Right. Like if Devin Booker says, I'm not signing with anybody, then people will tinker with their roster to try and get him in free agency. But like you can say, I want to be traded, and then you end up in Detroit. And I know he's from Detroit, but like I'm using Detroit as the example of these things don't always go the way you think they're going to when you request a trade. A lot of times they do. James Harden has gotten to exactly where he wants to go like 4 times because James Harden is willing to throw his reputation into the gutter and call Daryl Morey a liar in front of Chinese children in order to get where he wants to go. That's a really hard thing to do. Jimmy Butler did that in Miami and got to the second place he wanted to go after everything he went through. So, it's hard to acquiesce to that at times. I also think Devin Booker is just because he got into the league at such a young age, he's starting to get to the point where he's not a number 1 or a number 2 on a championship team. And so I don't think there's a contender that would be like, I am going to go get Devin Booker tomorrow.
I think the Rockets would have, but I think they just decided, I don't believe that their initial thought was, we want to see what Jalen Green can do, because they've been talking about this summer with Jalen Green for 2 years now. The issue is what you have team control. It comes down to who is Devin Booker. Do you look at Devin Booker like Kyle, or do you look at Devin Booker like Allen? Because you have 3 years of control, but you're paying is he worth $53 million next season? Is he worth $57 million at age 30? And at 31, is Devin Booker worth $61 million? I don't know.
Well, that's the tough part is to Phoenix, he is.
To Phoenix, he is, yes.
But who are the teams we keep connecting him to? It's like Houston, Orlando, Detroit, like teams that are on the up and up, where he would be a number 2 with a theoretical young star. If for some reason, and I'm not saying this would happen, I'm just using this as an example. If Boston says, we will trade Devin Booker for Jaylen Brown, I don't know if Boston is choosing, if a team that's already ready-made to win a championship is saying Devin Booker is the missing piece, and now we're going to make that move because of, like you said, he's 31 years old, which really, because he got in the league at like 17, it's really like year 12 for him. And has that cost prohibitive contract.
Yeah, if they lose, if they get a Godfather offer for KD, and that's the other thing, I don't know what they're going to get back for KD. I think that there is, to tie this whole thing up, I believe that the Suns might be posturing a little bit. I think that they are still going to see, hey, I don't know that Devin Booker is going to be worth more in 2 years when he's more expensive. Now, the going rate we always talk about this with Keith Smith, the going rate in 2028, 2029, 55, 60 mil for a second option, a championship second option, that might not be as crazy, right? Do we think that's Devin Booker? I don't know.
I think the thing that's so fascinating is what you said a second ago, which is there's such a vast debate about what Devin Booker is at this stage of his career. Some people would say he's barely a top 30 player, which means he's probably a championship number 2. Some would say he could still be a championship number 1. And some will say he was never a championship number 1, which I would say he was literally 2 games away from winning a championship as a number 1. But there's different debate about how good he is, and so it makes it hard to put a market together.
Look, man, I say all this to say Devin Booker is going to be a trade candidate on our show one of these days. I don't know how you get him. Zach LaVine, can I interest you in a Zach LaVine?
God, could you imagine? So, like, let's say Kevin Durant gets traded for, I don't know, let's call it the Heat package. Right. A team of Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, Andrew Wiggins, and Terry Rozier is just the bad contract supernova.
Yes, it's just the first team all bad contract. And then they get complete relief in 2 years.
Yes, but also they don't have any draft picks because all their draft picks are with Washington and Houston.
Arizona's beautiful this time of year. It's about to get real beautiful on the show as we are joined by Brendan Nunez and Chris Watkins. The Kings Roundtable coming at you next. Get those questions in there, Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot, 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 and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, plus free home delivery. Limited time. Exclusively to Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I was taking my side hustle full time.
Bold move, my friend.
And I needed to find everything in one stop.
Like finding Bigfoot riding a unicorn.
Yes, so I hit the Staples Easy button. Staples had everything for a new office and print services for signs and brochures. Plus, Cindy, the Staples associate, helped me find the best tech for me.
Wait, no drama?
No, Staples made it easy.
For the products, services, and experts your business needs. Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
Postseason dunks, threes, buzzer beaters. There's so much NBA happening. I gotta keep up.
Whoa, take it easy there. There's a better way to NBA. All playoffs long.
Wait, really?
With the NBA app, you get real-time stats and scores for every playoff matchup. Witness playoff drama as it unfolds.
Seriously?
Catch every bucket all in one place, all for free.
Where have you been all my life?
There's a better way to NBA. Download the app today. Available on the Google Play, Apple app, and Android stores.
Memorial Day savings explode at Matus Elk Grove Chevy. Save $12,500 off MSRP after rebates. Every new 2025 Silverado Turbo Max in stock. And Matus Chevy has similar savings on every new Silverado. One of the largest selections of new Silverado in the Sacramento area. $12,500 off new Silverado. Exclusively at the Matus Chevy Silverado Supercenter. Now that's big, huge. See them all at MatusChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Plus, turning 21 or new, not available with special financing, lease, and some other offers.
I remember as if it were yesterday. I reached down to move a nightstand and was astonished at the weight of the piece. Hi, this is Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. At that moment, I instantly recognized the difference between Naturewood's quality furniture that will last a lifetime versus lesser quality furniture found elsewhere. Now, I suppose there's a huge difference in what you'd put in your first apartment and what you would live with in the comfort of your own home. Right now, Naturewood Home Furnishings Made in USA sale is a great time to fill your home with solid, superior quality furniture to reflect your own love for life. With brands like Sam Moore, Stanton, Stickley, Hilltop Hickory, Simply Amish, and many more, Naturewood Home Furnishings has tables, chairs, couches, and yes, nightstands, and more at their Made in USA sale. Find furniture that will be with you forever. Naturewood Home Furnishings, off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sacktown Sports 1140. Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Joined by Chris Watkins and Brendan Nunez, our Kings round table for the next hour. Get in your questions, 916-339-1140. Text line's always open. YouTube as well. Fellas, how you doing?
Doing well. Doing well. Can't complain. Isaiah Thomas. I'm wearing an Isaiah Thomas shirt for the audio side.
You have on an Isaiah Thomas shirt, which is fine. Chris has on a Yankee jersey, which is confusing me. You have on, well, it is, I was going to say a green Ace hat, because last week you had on the green Giants hat.
Yeah.
Chris has a Sacramento hat that looks like a White Sox hat.
Chris's jersey also says
on?
Jeter on the back,
Don't
which
tell
is not what the Yankees do. So I'm very curious.
Also, very unfortunate timing to wear an Isaiah Thomas shirt if you guys happen to see his tweet today.
Yeah.
Super random.
So strange.
I just saw.
It was something about farting on a plane or something.
Yeah,
he was
just like, I can't help myself.
As
He said it as if this was like a common thing that everybody does. Like, he's just gassy on the plane, man.
Hold on.
Solidarity.
I was
Brennan.
already wearing the shirt. I'm like, do I change? What's going on here?
The last
my king.
No, what I just saw him talk about was how, hey, I'm coaching, I'm helping to coach.
You saw the wrong
slow grind.
You saw the wrong.
If you have any questions, just ask me.
So at 12:50 a.m.,
Yeah, it was very
Isaiah
late.
Thomas tweeted out, "Man, when I'm on these flights, I be farting so much. LOL. Especially these overseas flights. It's all bad when you sit by me." Laughing emoji.
He says it's like it's a common thing. Like when you're over the ocean and you're just more gassy.
It's a longer flight, a lot more can happen. Can I just say, no disrespect to Isaiah's out there, but it's got to be a top 5 most annoying name to type, right? There's like 15 different ways to spell it.
I
would just don't. Yeah.
Even the two Isaiah Thomases spell their name.
Celtics Kings have 2 A's, right? Detroit guy only has 1.
It's a tough go for me.
Yeah.
I'm really, really glad Kyle started, because I tried to search it.
Isaiah.
Yeah, it's just a lot coming up.
Don't talk to me about spellings of names.
No, I wouldn't. Sure. I would never do that. But I am going to talk to you about this California Classic. I was trying to think of a name, California Classic Gate or CC Gate, whatever you want to call it, because people were very upset that the Kings aren't in it. Our own LeBron James of the station, Kyle Draper, he reported yesterday that his sources told him that they didn't want to stretch the team too thin with California Classic and obviously Vegas and Summer League, because last season they had to do a split squad. Your guys' thoughts on that? Obviously, it's a lot of people see it as the Kings' baby in a way. Your guys' thoughts? It's going to be in Sacramento next season.
Allegedly.
That's what they're saying. So your guys' initial thoughts on all of that came out yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of not wanting to split the guys up, I think makes a lot of sense. If you think back to last year, they had an A squad and a B squad, essentially. And
do they even have enough players to split up?
Right. I think that's a great point to all this, is that you are fielding more players. And, hey, maybe you could say that gives us an extensive look at some guys, helps you shape your G League roster, things like that. But I think that you kind of want all things focused in one direction. Last year, they split up Doug Christie and I'm forgetting who else they had it. It wasn't Paul Johnson, but somebody else.
Jawad, I think.
Thank you, Jawad Williams. That I think they had run the Sacramento team. And so I think it makes sense to have everybody in one place. But, when there's a change like this, right after there was a change in management with Scott Perry taking over, you wonder how much this is his influence, and also that they don't have a first-round pick. But I will say, it's very easy to say that, but we expect this team to make a lot of trades, and there's no saying that they couldn't necessarily trade for a first-round pick. Not that I'm expecting it, but it's in the cards.
See what I'm telling y'all? You got to ask Brendan the right questions.
I smell BS.
I'm
going to tell you that. I just think that's like an incredibly lame excuse.
Okay.
I just don't get it. Like, I think splitting. I understand splitting the teams last year was definitely difficult. I understand how that would be a logistical nightmare, but nobody's saying you have to have different teams. Like, you can send the same summer league squad to San Francisco. San Francisco's an hour and a half away. Right. Like, it's not. I just don't think it's that. I think the real answer is they didn't want to do it, and they had to come up with an excuse. Like, I think it's really to me, it's as simple as that. And I think they weren't expecting people to be so upset here in Sacramento about them not getting 3 summer league games.
It is kind of funny because they started the event, essentially.
It's definitely ironic for sure. It's very Kings.
Yeah, people were saying, does it cost money? Vivek doesn't want to pay. I mean, there's a lot of roasting.
I mean, yeah, there is money involved too. Like, you do have to open up the building. You got to pay the ushers. You got to pay concessions and all that stuff. Like, there is operating costs for sure. But if you're sending them to again, why I think the excuse is BS. There's no operating cost besides a bus, getting a bus and some gas to send them to San Francisco. The Miami Heat, they're not they don't have any issues flying their team cross country and then going to Vegas. Like, I just think it's an excuse, and it is what it is. I personally don't I was surprised at the amount of people who were really hurt by the California. Like, it's a fun event, but it's not as if it's circled on my calendar every. It's not. We're not having T-Pain out there every single year. If we were making it a real event every year, maybe so. But I think they've kind of been taking their foot off the gas of that. Remember last year they had the flags and the jerseys, the gradients. I remember Kyle had to break down the full what the flags
the trophy
resembled and the trophy and
so
everything.
Are we just getting rid of the Mitch Richmond Award?
Exactly.
True.
It's
Very
cooked.
bizarre.
It's
We're a long
cooked.
way
The Kings
removed
aren't
from Lil Jon being at the debut.
I think Mitch Richmond was on the Lakers, and I don't know if he was on the Heat. I feel like he might have been on the Heat.
Yeah, the first thing is, I think that speaks to where Kings fans are right now. I keep saying tiny victories. They just wanted something to be happy about. There's just no hope right now for the Kings, and even the summer would have given you a little bit of something, even if it's Mason Jones doing his thing.
Could have been the Stockton Kings
that's
revenge tour. They just won the ring.
They get
defend your title.
You get you get rings in Vegas
Champions
too.
Don't care about preseason.
They are still sending a team to Vegas too, and that's the thing too. It's it's not like it's that much of a misstep.
Can you remind us of the overlap between the California Classic and Summer League?
It's the next week. I think Cal Classic is the first week of July, July 3rd, 5th, and 8th, and then I believe the Summer League starts the following week, July 12th.
So they're not even the same week.
No, they are definitely not the same week. Other league, no. I mean, there's a Salt Lake City Summer League. There used to be an Orlando Summer League. It is a thing for teams to have a Summer League before the official Summer League. Nobody. The official Summer League is is where you cannot miss. Nobody is missing the Vegas Summer League.
That's where Brandon Pajemski's going to do his thing.
100%. Courtside.
Well, not this. That's where he was.
I've seen him at the Valkyrie game. I feel like he's going to do the same exact thing at the Summer League.
That's right. Yeah, kind of rough stuff there, guys. So, Chris, just to be clear,
there's 2 days between the end of the Cal Classic.
Well, not
the 8th. The Cal Classic ends on the 8th. And Summer League.
So now we're worried about Summer League fatigue. We're worried about our Summer League players on back-to-backs now.
No. Yeah, we got to win a third title.
Come on.
Yeah.
Just say you don't want to play. It's fine. Just say we're taking the year off. Just say everyone understands you don't have a first-round pick. We just think it'd be in the best interest of our organization. We hope to return to the California Classic in the years moving forward. It's that simple. But instead, whatever. I don't even think it's a lie. I just think it's not the exact reason why.
So what part is, I guess, agitating you here?
No, but I don't care. I mean,
what's the lie?
Yeah, the lie to me is that they are saying they don't. I think it is a reason is that the staff is thin and all that, and it's logistics. I just think they're overblowing that. I think the cold hard truth is they don't see the value in it. They don't understand why. It seems like something where, frankly, Scott Perry, new here, walks in and says, "Wait, what?
Why do we do this?"
It's somebody new in the building asking the why as to why are we doing these things. And if there's not a good answer as to the why, you probably, especially when you're stretched thin already, you're not a great, you have some other things you should probably get in line first. I think it's probably we should maybe focus on XYZ instead of getting, as you guys, 20 players out here to only sign 3 of them to our actual, training camp. I just think it's not worth their time. And I think that's the reality of it. But I think that they were surprised at how many people were upset by it and felt away and felt like they had to kind of leak. I don't even know about leak things out, but like there was no official, like the Warriors just released the summer league schedule, and that was it. It was their PR Twitter account released it. There was nothing there. There was no statement from the Kings, anything. I think they expected this to just kind of, oh yeah, like where are we in this?
Nah. Well, and the other thing is too, do you believe, and this is just our opinions here, nothing source unless Brendan, we sneak something out of Brendan again. Do you think that the idea of, hey, we're going to alternate, do you think that was the idea going into the conversation, or do you think it was the Kings saying, yeah, we're cool off that, what we can, the switching during the actual California Classic, why don't we just make it clean and do this year, that year, this year, that year?
I think this is all made up. Like, I don't think any of it, like, there's no legal binding anything. Like, they're just,
Besides
it's Joe Lacob and Vivek or their people or whatever that are just flying by the seat. Like, yeah, last year they decided, let's make this into a tournament. Let's get a trophy. This year, apparently, the Kings just came to the table and said, yeah, we're not doing it. Like, I just don't think there's any official capacity behind it. And it is what it is. Like, again, I like it for the T-Pain concerts, for the other things like that. But, the Summer League is something that the other people are excited about.
Kyle, let's make sure we come back with some T-Pain music on a Throwback Thursday. You look at the other teams involved, guys, just blue bloods. Blue bloods and true culture organizations with strong culture. You got the Lakers, okay? The bluest of the blue bloods. You got the Warriors, blues literally in their jersey. You got the Spurs,
gold-blooded,
they're gold-blooded though. You got the Spurs, and De'Aaron Fox. He might be. We know
Stephon Castle's not going to be there.
Oh
right?
No. He's going to be bubble wrapped.
Dylan Harper though.
And then you get Heat culture with Khalil Ware, who will dunk. Okay, this is what we're dealing with.
That's
The Kings do not deserve to be there. That's how I see it. They don't deserve.
It alternated in the last few years, right? Were the Lakers there last year? Last year was the Hornets and the Spurs.
Spurs were there.
The Hornets.
Were the Heat
I think maybe
not there?
The Heat
maybe the Heat
year.
were the ones that were
It's
not.
Jean Salon. Like that's what we're talking about.
That's right,
guys.
Absolutely.
Premier talent. And the Kings said, that's too much for us right now. We got to focus on where DeMar DeRozan is heading.
But we don't even get to see Bronny either.
No Bronny. No, why
mistake.
would Bronny? No, Bronny getting time.
You don't think
Bronny getting time on a 3C? Why would Bronny be playing with these bums?
Is he?
Bronny not playing with these bums. On the other side, let's discuss DeMar DeRozan and the smoke to the fire of where he's headed next. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-961-5544. 800-961-5544.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
Chris Watkins, Brendan Nunes joining us until 1 o'clock, talking Kings and the Kings roundtable, of course. Guys, let's move on to some of this DeMar DeRozan smoke. Brett Siegel was on the show breaking down Siegel's scoops, which he dropped last week. DeMar DeRozan and a connection to the Miami Heat, okay, as well as Drew Holiday and the connection to the Kings, as well as other teams. I saw the Clippers in the mix for Drew Holiday as well. Let's start with DeMar DeRozan. Is this, I guess, more action and more of a rumor mill than you thought the Kings would have, more of a market for DeMar DeRozan than you initially thought DeMar DeRozan would have going into the offseason?
I mean, I don't think it's surprising to see there be interest around the league. I think that we even just saw it when DeMar just had his free agency, but the reality of that also was that he went a decent ways into free agency and, seemingly kind of ended up settling on the Kings, like he's mentioned, and he has mentioned how he got talked into it, which in my mind means that you probably didn't think this was the greatest idea initially,
right,
before diving into it at least, and that it was a later step in the process. So I think that teams will be interested. It's just still very TBD on what that means. Like, to what extent? What can the Kings get in a return? Are they going to have to combine a first-round pick with the DeMar contract if they really want to try to get something of value? So it's not super surprising to me that the teams would be interested after this super top end of KD, Giannis, and there's probably going to be 3 or 4 more guys that are above DeRozan's tier. If somebody wants to make a marginal improvement for a cheaper deal or package that you are sending out, then DeMar might be a guy that interests you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, just because I think we all knew that he was going to be a name that's definitely on the block. I'm actually more so curious, like, what do you guys think in terms of if it's in the King, like if you're on the King side of things, is it better to get DeMar off the market first instead of waiting to see what KD and Giannis go for potentially? And that could, because Kevin Durant is a 36-year-old like forward who's had lower leg injury. Like, who knows if Kevin Durant's going to go for multiple first round picks or anything like that. Like, you could end up setting your market below what you actually feel like you could have got. The classic Vlade had a better deal 3 days ago. Like, it might be good for the Kings to kind of get in front of these rumors and say, look, DeMar is open. You can have your team set as soon as July, absolutely. If you want him, he is there. And maybe it is in the Kings' best. I don't know. Like, is it in the Kings' best interest to get that deal done early, or should they maybe wait to see how many people strike out? And who knows, maybe you'll have even more suitors than before.
Yeah. And Chris Bierman brought up the Rockets. Okay. He brought up the Rockets, which I thought, again, hey, we're not going to cash out on Devin Booker. We're going to see what Jalen Green is all about. I think that's more about Devin Booker's price tag. Yesterday, Brett Siegel brought up the Bucks, which we had some fun with how the Kings could pull that off and what they would get in return. I think it's a great question, Chris. It comes down to what you think Kevin Durant is going to be worth. Are the rumors better than what he'll actually go for?
Yeah.
Is essentially what you're asking. And I think you might be onto something. Everything gets leaked so much. I wouldn't be against it if I'm Scott Perry. If I'm not mistaken, was it the California Classic or was it Vegas when DeMar pulled up?
That was Cal Classic.
That was the California Classic. So we're not that far away. And this had been a similar situation to the Bulls in that everyone kind of knew that DeMar was on the way out. So I'm sure underground conversations were being had. You might be onto something. I think the initial thought is, well, let's see them set the market and then there might be more teams available.
Yeah.
But if KD doesn't go for the Godfather offer that we think, and let's say Giannis stays, then that could affect some things. Now that would include the Bucks as far as maybe wanting DeMar DeRozan. But yeah, if they don't go for some crazy offers, and what if Lauri Markkanen, he gets back on the market because it doesn't make sense for Danny Ainge and he just takes his medicine. Now you're thinking, all right, well, if Lauri and KD went for this, here you're going to take Kyle Kuzma, you're going to like it.
Yeah, no, and I heard Brett yesterday kind of mention what he expects the timeline to be for Sabonis. How, for lack of a better term, how terrible would it be for the Kings to go into next season and say, well, we were waiting for DeMar DeRozan trade, but either we didn't like the offers or straight up nothing material. Like, nobody really wanted him. So yeah, I think the earlier you can kind of set that in motion, instead of the Kings waiting to figure out what their team's going to look like, they can be proactive in saying, we know we don't want this piece. Let's get this piece off so we can continue to build throughout the offseason, instead of, well, like, I don't know if I really want to pursue X point guard because who knows what we were planning to, in the Miami negotiations, get Terry Rozier back here, Allen's best friend. And so, I think that it might be in the Kings' best interest and the opposite is what we just saw with De'Aaron Fox, right? Is that you get the deal done early, and who knows? Maybe Kevin Durant stays in Phoenix, and then the Biederman situation comes up where now DeMar is the hot item on the market, right? Is now everyone's asking for his services, and all of a sudden his value is higher than you ever thought it would be. So it's a really complicated situation that they have to kind of figure out. I mean, they have to attack it however they see the market shaking out.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I mean, I think the other aspect of it is that it takes two to tango, right? Like some of these other teams might be viewing DeMar as a fallback. And it's like, well, we don't want to come to the table about real DeMar conversations until we know what's going to happen with KD. We know what's going to happen with Giannis. So I think one of those like easier said than done. Yeah, two-way street is a good way to put it for sure. Because, I think you can also make an argument that maybe a team will be desperate at the deadline. Maybe you could get a better deal at the deadline, but then what are you doing to the first half of your season in the year that you're coming in as a new general manager trying to make an identity for this team? It feels like, they have to make decent change going into the year rather than in the middle of it.
And I think at this point, I would assume Scott Perry kind of knows what the market is going to be. And now you get PTSD from Imani McNair where it becomes, and this was, to get the John Collins piece or whatever, where it's, we wanted another second rounder or something kind of insignificant and you miss out on a deal, or is that second rounder worth not just being done and moving forward? That Kyle Kuzma in the second round, whatever the case is, if you're moving on from DeMar, the balance of not being too greedy, but getting obviously the best value. Real quick before we get to the other side here, guys, any chance, right? Because they said they need a point guard. We just were looking at Keith Smith's breakdown of the point guards. Any chance they just go get Dennis Schroeder and say, hey, we didn't have a point guard, or that's what we were missing in Chicago. Let's go get Dennis Schroeder, DeMar, Zach LaVine. Let's see what you can do. Any chance that DeMar stays in Sacramento?
I think there's a chance. I think it's very unlikely, though. I think there's like a 90% chance that they end up moving off of him. I think it's there is, unfortunately, DeMar is still a valuable player, but I do think there's an aspect of addition by subtraction with a little bit of this. Like Keegan needs to spread his wings. You need to be able to fully run the ball through Zach and Domas and some of these other guys. So I would be surprised if DeMar was still here, and I would also laugh if Dennis Schroeder was their point guard going into next year.
Okay, well,
you've been listening to too much of the drive.
Me?
That's Kyle Draper's guy.
No, how many guys he got? What, John Collins?
That is a great question.
Let's give me John Collins. A great question. Give me Dennis Schroeder, and let's go get a ring. Let's go get a parade. I'll get the balloons. On the other side, there is a guard on the Kings that is starting to pop up very often in trade rumors. How open should the Kings be to moving Ellis Island? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-961-5544. 800-961-5544.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
I'm Sia, and I support Humane World for Animals, formerly called the Humane Society of the United States. Together, we have created a new version of Peter Gabriel's beautiful song, Salisbury Hill, to celebrate Humane World for Animals and everything they do. Enjoy the song and join us in helping Humane World for Animals end animal cruelty.
Advanced Infusion Center, where we prioritize your comfort and well-being. Whether you're managing a chronic condition or seeking specialized IV therapy, our state-of-the-art center offers tailored solutions to meet your needs. Advanced Infusion Center's dedicated healthcare professionals are here to ensure your safety and provide personalized care. Conveniently located in Sacramento and Yuba City with flexible scheduling options. Experience a new standard in infusion therapy. Visit Advanced Infusion Center today at advancedinfusion.com.
Skeeter here. Got a question. What's small and dark with white bands on its legs and bites during the day?
Mosquitoes. Hi, I'm Luz Maria Robles, but these are two new types of day-biting mosquitoes. They're invading our area and becoming a big problem.
And they can be dangerous.
But we're on it, so when you see them, report it at fightthebite.net. In the meantime, use insect repellent and drain stagnant water around your yard.
We're here to help with these day-biting mosquitoes.
Visit us at fightthebite.net.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California, Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip: if a firm presents as local but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
Carmichael Dave here for my good friends at American Energy. As a native Sacramentan, I can tell you, not that you need to know, that it might be nice right now, but turn the corner and oh my God, it's so hot. Yeah, you know, summer is coming. And my friends at American Energy want to make sure you are dialed with your AC unit. So how about this? Half off tune-up right now. It's a special going on, just $24.50. Get your air conditioner tuned up, a free diagnostic. And oh, by the way, if you need a new AC unit, up to $3,500 in rebates on qualifying system installations. That's right. They've been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1981. A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Give them a call, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Here's the song.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
On Sacktown Sports.
Chris Watkins, Brendan Nunez, Kings Roundtable, Frankie Carcelli, we think could be back next week. He'll be here when he's here. I don't know.
Busy guy.
Busy guy. Yes, we do. When he's here, he does. And we are breaking down all things Kings. Get your questions in here, and we will get to them. Guys, I have a couple questions, okay? The first one is that I saw a report that Devin Carter may or may not have played in the California Classic. Did you hear about that? Just from a, I don't know.
If they would have participated?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
I did not hear that. I don't know how one could have deduced that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's questions about whether or not Devin would participate, and I definitely had the thought that it would make sense if they only played him in the Cal Classic, because I feel like they've done that with second-year guys in the past. But that's
so he wouldn't have played in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just me like guessing based on how they've done things previously. But again, this is new management, and obviously they didn't quite see the value in Cal Classic in the first place. So I don't think I'm expecting Devin out there. I don't know.
I feel like I would expect him physically, but I don't think he would play,
like Davion did that year too. He played.
Keon did it.
I don't know if he played in Cal Classic, but yeah, they usually do have one guy sort of
just mentoring, right? Yeah, exactly. Like Isaac Jones will probably be out there, right? Like Isaac Jones will probably be like the star of the summer league.
That would make sense.
Untouchable, according to some Kings
should be.
Fans, by the way. Speaking of untouchable, should this player be untouchable? So Keith Smith had Keon Ellis ranked in his kind of guards breakdown on Spot Track. Also, we read off a Bleacher Report article that had three dream trade targets for each NBA team. Keon popped up as a dream trade target on about 3 or 4 different teams. And we know about the team control and how if you decline, they will have an opportunity to sign him for a bigger contract at the end of the season. If you accept, you get the better deal now, and so on and so forth. Is he somebody that either we should be on the lookout for the Kings to maybe try to sneak some value out of, or do you think that that's somebody that, hey, we already don't have enough young talent, let's lock him up and throw away the key?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he is a high impact player now, and that makes it an interesting scenario for the Kings where they need a guy like him. If you get rid of Keon Ellis, it's the same thing we've talked about with Keegan and HB and different guys over the past. Like, you get rid of that guy, you need another version of him. But I don't think he has Alex Caruso value. But if there's an Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey sort of trade out there where you can get young and some sort of upside, then sure, you probably consider it. But I think that he's a very important player on this current Kings team. And again, you get rid of him, you have to find a new version of him. So I'd imagine that they really try and get a deal done rather than letting him reach restricted free agency. But, you know, there's only so many players as you go down the list of like, okay, who has notable value on this team if you're trying to make a deal. So I think it would take a big splash for Keon to be included in a deal, as funny as that sounds, but he's not somebody that should be untouchable.
Yeah, I would say he's probably like sweetener is probably not the right term for it, but it's the best I got of like, you know, if you attach him with the DeMar DeRozan because of how his contract is too, it's like you're not going to, it's kind of why in a way like Isaac Jones is a little untouchable, because if you're going to trade that contract, I don't know if you're going to get somebody of equal value who's making that money. You kind of throw Keon into a deal, let's say, I don't know, just for, again, lack of a better deal. Like, let's say DeRozan to Miami. If the Kings really want to get, Khalil Ware. I was going to say Tyler Hero just to shoot even higher, but it's something where, look, you can't get that. You're not going to get a DeMar DeRozan for Tyler Hero deal straight up. If we can maybe make it DeRozan and what I think Keon's contract's maybe $2 million, that makes it a little bit more palatable for that team, and maybe, you know, even easier to say like Keon's just the equivalent of maybe like a first round draft pick, like a mid-late lottery draft pick. I think if we're talking value, and that's where, yeah, like you're saying, if you could find a Caruso for Josh Giddey type deal, that might be the only way you see a 1-for-1 swap. But I think the problem is Keon is just so much better than anyone you're going to get at that dollar figure. And Keon's young too. It's not like, you know, Alex Caruso, I think, is 28, 29. Like Keon is still 24, 25. Like you're still, he is the young player that you would ideally be trading for. So I can't really see him being moved, but if he is moved in a bigger deal, that should tell you that the Kings probably really like who they're bringing back. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, using that like sweetener term, which I agree with you. I think he's probably like a tier above that, whatever it may be, like a really strong sugar or something. I don't know what a stronger sweetener is, but like who has more value in a deal, Devin Carter or Keon Ellis?
I literally was about to ask that.
I'd say Keon. I mean, you've seen him play, right?
It's probably Keon, but Devin has the team control. It's probably team dependent. It's like if a team loved Devin at the draft, then maybe he has more value. But I think, you know, if you're trying to get in the Trae Young sweepstakes or Zion or KD, that like how much would Phoenix love Keon Ellis as part of a deal? You know, he's a player that they would love to have on their team, and shoot, Devin probably as well. Like that team controlled contracts are valuable to those teams. So yeah, I mean, I think Chris is spot on. To me, it would have to be a piece to a bigger deal.
Yeah, and the Devin Carter situation is interesting. I think everybody, it's funny how certain players gain value and lose value. Keon being somebody that you did not look at coming into the Kings organization as a guy, that famous tweet, who cares, right? It was I don't know if it was Kings PR or it might have even been Woj or Shams or somebody, and a Kings fan responds and says, who cares? He's never going to see the court. And somebody, I think Drew, retweets it every time Keon does something. You look at Keon in a certain way because you didn't expect to get anything from him, not like this. You look at Devin Carter in a certain way because, and he wasn't even a top 5 pick, but he goes in the first round. And we look at those two guys completely differently, and their values are completely different based on expectations. The Devin Carter piece of it, and, you know, we'll get a text every now and then because we spend so much time talking about point guards. Well, Allen, what about Keon and Devin? Can either of them be point guards. And I'm on record, and I'll just get your guys' thoughts on it. I guess I'm more confident that Keon could get to a point where, and I always liken it to shortstop and second base. I think Keon could play some shortstop, but he's a second baseman. Yeah. Malik cannot play shortstop. We've decided he maybe for a hitter here or there. Right. And I'm be honest, and Chris, me and you were doing these breakdowns about the draft last season, and we never broke down Devin Carter because we didn't think the Kings would go in that direction. I
believe you said, "What are we doing here?"
A common term on this show.
You said he's 6'4". What are we doing here? And then we didn't talk about him. I'm sorry.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's a shared opinion.
I don't
Look where that
think,
got us.
I don't think that Devin Carter can play shortstop. I don't see a point guard there, brother.
I hope somebody's tuning in right now to hear that. Well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Did you see that? And Clutch Points, friend of the show, did you see the graphic? They're famous for their crazy graphics.
Yes.
Did you see the one with Tyrese Halliburton?
I've seen a lot of crazy graphics with Tyrese Halliburton.
They converted the yards for Drew Brees.
Oh, I did see this.
And they said no interceptions because Tyrese Halliburton had no turnovers. That was a fun one, I guess. But
Real fun.
If you're just now tuning in, I'm likening shortstop to point guard. And to answer everyone's question, I don't see Devin Carter as a point guard. Do either of you?
No. I think that actually Malik is more of a point guard than anybody else on this roster.
Even Keon.
Still, for sure. I think it's no questions asked. I think that Keon doesn't have the ball handling right now. Yeah. If he gets pressed bringing the ball up the floor, he's going to have to turn 3-4 times before he gets the ball up the floor, and maybe that's something that can continue to develop as he's still pretty young, but I don't think that we've seen the most encouraging flashes to make you think that that is right around the corner or anything like that. Malik has the handle. It's not super manipulative reads or anything, but he can run a pick and roll and hit that pocket pass. Obviously, we've seen that a bunch with Domas. I don't think you're seeing that from Devin. He was more of a combo guard, sort of primary initiator, but mainly for himself, making pretty basic reads during his time in college. I guess really your answer is that Domas is supposed to be the point guard of this team, but you need more than that. You need it from the perimeter. I think one of the big differences between New York and Indiana is Indiana has so many guys that can initiate. It's not just Tyrese, it's Andrew Nembhard, it's TJ McConnell, it's Pascal Siakam. And then New York has Jalen Brunson. And after that, it's okay, who do we give the ball to on the perimeter?
Yeah.
Cat.
Yeah.
Deuce McBride. Josh Hartford back people down from the half court line.
Campaign.
Yep. That's who it is. I said Alfred Payton. Huh?
Yeah.
They're all the same.
Is Alfred Payton still around?
He was. He had 20 assists and then
cut his hair, I know.
Yeah, he got 20 assists and then got cut. That's the last I heard.
Tough. That's really
him
tough.
not being able to see because of his hair that one time is just still an all-time moment. Yeah, it's all-time moment.
Chris.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think I would say, because you and I used to go back and forth on what even is a point guard in today's NBA anyway, what is the exact definition. So I guess I would say Devin Carter can play point guard, but I would say it more in the sense of he's more in the mold of a Chris Dunn or a Marcus Smart, where it's Chris Dunn has James Harden next to him. Marcus Smart had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown bringing the ball down. So I think it's more just, if Devin Carter is going to be a starter, let's just say we have the team that we have now, it would have to be him playing next to Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine almost plays more of this initiator. Devin can have the ball in his hands for sure, but it's not like you're, setting up your offense. Devin's, running fist and everyone's moving around. I think it's just going to be a different kind of point guard. But I guess if you're doing the traditional sense of slotting guys in, I guess he can play point guard. It's just not gonna be the initiator, which is again where it's where are we gonna get with our basketball terms here?
I will say whatever point guard they get, I would just say open your mind up a little bit that it doesn't have to be a small player. You guys have been talking about RJ Barrett. I don't think that he's necessarily the level of playmaker that you need, but Josh Giddey, that's a point guard. He's not a guard necessarily, right? When you're thinking size. I don't have the greatest other examples off
Johnny
the top of my head. That's insane. But if we're going super top end, obviously Giannis is a point guard, there are other guys. You could say Domas a little bit, but I think you do need somebody that can attack the paint and sort of just suck a defense in essentially from the exterior and then moving into the paint. And the Kings don't really have that, but it could be a guy with more size than just the traditional, 6'4" and under guys that everybody looks at.
A creator, ball handler. And, people kept bringing up when the T-Wolves were good last week because they played a Warriors team without Steph, everybody was talking about Julius Randle and why can't Domas do this? And I just had that. Do you watch basketball? Because to me, watching Julius Randle run the transition break, that's the difference between what he does and not, shooting the basketball, sure, but between him and Domas is not running a transition like Julius Randle. Yeah. You can add a Julius Randle if you want on the Kings. We're going to talk about that next week. And as far as a ball handler, but when people were saying, well, he's our point center. Yeah, but they're different versions of point forwards and point centers. Domas kind of sits there on the block and he's going to wait and kind of sift out the defense. He ain't running 3-man weaves. He's not doing that.
Yeah, no, and I mean Julius Randle, they're different level athletes too. Like Julius, we joke about Sabonis's hops all the time. Like he's not really a superstar athlete in that sense. And Julius Randle's also like he's one of the famous. This guy's actually like 6'7". Sabonis is 6'11". I think that's also a big difference too in just terms of mobility as well.
Go ahead.
I think Domas can run the break a little bit better than what you might be giving him credit for, but I think it's in a half court.
Pull the tape.
As a ball handler, I would say he runs the floor really well. Maybe if you're talking more as like a trailer or like somebody who's running ahead of the break, I don't see him doing that a ton, but he can run.
He's not dropping dimes, bro.
He's not in the traditional
transition,
sense,
I think he is. Yeah. But I think the other aspect is that you want your big to like, hey, if a guard gets a rebound, then maybe the big doesn't have to be the one to come back and get it. Like just get down the floor as quick as possible.
Sure, I hear you. Pull the tape. When we return, we're still talking about offense here, but I want to ask the fellas, what should we expect from the Kings offense this upcoming season? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot, doot, and sometimes it's like
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Memorial Day savings explode at Matus Elk Grove Chevy. Save $12,500 off MSRP after rebates. Every new 2025 Silverado Turbo Max in stock.
And Matus Chevy has similar savings on every new Silverado. One of the largest selections of new Silverado in the Sacramento area.
$12,500 off new Silverado. Exclusively at the Matus Chevy Silverado Supercenter. Now that's big. Huge. See them all at MatusChevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Special financing, lease, and some other offers.
Summer's almost here, and so are popsicles, pool days, and a lot of smiling. Make sure your kiddo's smile is ready with a visit to Kids Care Dental and Orthodontics. Our expert team makes dental visits easy and fun with sensory-friendly hours for kids who need a calmer environment. We can also accommodate same-day treatments, and to save you time, if your child needs multiple treatments, we can often do them all at once. Appointments fill up fast, so don't wait. Beat the summer rush and schedule online at kidscaredental.com. That's kidscaredental.com, where healthy, happy smiles begin.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Well, when the A's broke their losing streak to finish the last homestand, it was a special day for Logan Davidson and Willie MacIver. Each guy got his first major league hit. And for MacIver, who grew up an A's fan, he drove in the go-ahead run in the bottom of the eighth inning and threw out the potential tying run to end the game. A storybook finish to a special afternoon. Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. It's how retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing must-visit shops. And it's how healthcare offices become data-managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business.
Sacramento Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has the biggest selection, the best prices, and unbeatable customer service. Check them out online, sacsuperstore.com, for the guaranteed lowest price on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Open until 10 o'clock and right across from Hagen Oaks Golf Course. sacsuperstore.com.
Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sacktown Sports.
Brendan Nunez, Chris Watkins, one more segment with the guys, taking us up to 1 p.m. Then we take you up to 2 p.m. And there's been a lot of talk about free agents, trades, and we know it's all part of the off season, and it's the off season buzz and the off season rumor mill. But I wanted to get a little bit mind the game pod here, guys. And now Chris is saying I'm listening, because you bring on Bobby Jackson, you bring on Mike Woodson. Obviously, Doug Christie is no longer the interim head coach. He is the head coach. Not really sure. With the last coaching regime, it was very clear defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Mike Brown was the defensive coordinator with the Warriors. How do you think that the breakdown of the coaches will be released? Do you think they're still looking to add? And the final question I will add on to that is, how do you think the Kings offense will look under Doug Christie compared to under Mike Brown?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't usually get, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like an official announcement of, hey, this guy is the offensive coordinator, this guy's defensive, maybe Leandro Barbosa is assigned to Trey Lyles this year. Like we kind of just pick up on it as it goes along. And I'd imagine that, while there is an offensive and defensive coordinator, it usually feels like the head coach is one of them. And then there's like the, tertiary guys after that, I guess. But it feels like Doug is more of a defensive guy. Sure. And then Mike Woodson in the league is going to be pretty much the offensive coordinator for the team, with, just kind of assuming with his resume and what he typically focuses on, how Indiana ran as a team during his time there. So that's kind of how I assume that would go down. And I think that there's going to be more guys than what we know already. Like, there might already be, and they just haven't been announced for all we know. But these coaching staffs are ginormous. There's going to be there's probably close to 10 guys just on the bench. And then it goes beyond that, obviously. Like, they still have to figure out their Stockton staff. Like, we don't know for sure that Quentin Crawford's going to be back. And what is that future going to look like there? Who's going to be around him? So I think that there's definitely still a lot TBD to be figured out with all that. But I would imagine that Mike Woodson, again, just given his history, rather than having been told this, would be more of the offensive coordinator, while Doug is clearly a defensive focused guy. Not that Doug's not doing everything, obviously, as the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, usually I think we get the official announcements of just like them being hired. Like, right. The team will usually release I remember specifically like Jordy and Luke Lauk's graphics getting made by the Kings. So like there will be official announcements in that capacity, but kind of like Brendan said, I think it's more so something that we pick up on, or Doug will just straight up say in one of his first press conferences. But in terms of what the offense is going to look like, I really don't have much of an idea. I think it kind of ties into, we don't really know exactly what personnel is going to be out there.
Right.
You would assume if Sabonis is still going to be on this roster, he's going to be heavily involved. I think Sabonis has actually himself come out and say like he prefers the dribble handoff game as opposed to, the traditional pick and roll setting screens. Like when Zach got here, he kind of talked about how that was an adjustment for him, talking about how Sabonis liked to run more handoffs than traditional pick and roll. So I would assume it's probably going to be based mainly around getting those two guys as active offensively as they can, getting Sabonis and getting Zach LaVine the ball wherever they like it, because I feel like, again, I think I've said this multiple times, but like I think the roster is going to be fairly defensively minded next year. Mm-hmm. And it might be a little bit more like the Knicks than what we previously have seen, where it is a little bit more like these are our offensive guys, and if they don't have it going, we're kind of screwed on that end, but we hope to win defensively. That would be my guess, just based off of how Scott has kind of talked about how he wants to have the team be built. And then obviously we know Doug's identity. It just, to me, feels like sharing the ball and defense are going to be the two main staples of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the Domas aspect almost feels under-discussed this offseason, and we're still very early in the offseason, but, it was just reported like he's wants to see where this is going. And based on everything as Sam said, and Sam Amick and all the other conversations that we've all sort of had, like, I think that he wants things to run through him a little bit, like Chris is kind of saying. And so you'd imagine if he's on the roster that, and he's happy to come back, that's the direction that you're going in a little bit. That doesn't mean that you don't need a point guard. He's the one, that obviously is this dribble handoff guy, but he's the one that came out and said, obviously we need a point guard on this team. Like, he knows that is still obviously something that you need even when you're running that sort of offense through your big. So I think that's what it'll be catered to. Like, there's not that much that needs to change with the offense in my mind. Like, you do need a little bit more of an identity. I think that the DeRozan piece to all of this is kind of what screwed everything in that. And that's not DeMar's fault. It's just stylistically, he was the clear difference between everybody else trying to play with pace. And to be fair, the pace had a lot to do with Domas, but even more so De'Aaron Fox. It was constantly like, well, we think we have the fastest guy in the league, so that's why we're going to run like crazy. And so maybe it's not the same level of pace that we're going to be talking about, but whatever your offensive identity is, if Domas is still on this team, I would assume that means because you're running through him a good amount.
How many other teams out there, just for the listeners, when you hear DHO, and Kings are just obsessed over this DHO and the Sabonis kind of system, if you will, how many other teams off the top of your head are as DHO, for lack of a better term, dependent as the Sacramento Kings?
I mean, definitely Denver. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any team as dependent, for what it's worth, when the Kings are playing fully. Maybe last year is a little bit different, but like year prior, I want to say that they were the top DHO team. After that, it's such a unique play style. I mean, there's another. I think that Miami runs it a decent amount with Bam. Mm-hmm. There's really not that many around the league. There's another one that I had that I lost in the middle of saying this, but there's not many. Şengün, that's a good one for sure. Houston is definitely a good one. Yeah, there's a couple, but it is definitely more of a rare thing. I would say, because just the extent of it. I think most teams do it on every single game, essentially, but it's how often. Yeah. Are we doing it guard to guard DHO, or are we constantly just like, hey, get the ball to our big on the elbow, and then everything runs through these DHOs, I think is the difference for the Kings and maybe Denver and Houston and those teams, compared to other teams will sprinkle it in throughout their offense.
But is it the full-blown return? Because I used to joke and call it the ring around the rosy offense. Is it the full-blown return of that?
I doubt it, but
because Doug came out and said, I don't want to get into actions for no reason. That's what Doug said when he first kind of took the gig.
Yeah. Which I think is fair. And I think that's where you saw like the ball reversals that were a staple under Mike Brown. I think that still makes sense to be a staple, but don't just go to the other side of the floor just because, hey, this is a thing that we're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. In the ring around the rosy offense, I get why you say that, but they broke the offensive record.
Yeah.
And I will say Indiana, one of the interesting aspects to me of Indiana being so successful is that, I think a common theory was that like, hey, pace doesn't really work in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And sure, their half court offense is really, really good too. And that's an important part of this, but they're finding ways to play fast, and they're about to go to the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either if it's just more. We still see the handoffs, but just more pick and roll in general. Like the Kings run a suspiciously low amount of pick and roll in general. And that's just what most teams do instead of handoffs. And so I would expect a lot of that. I honestly wouldn't be surprised either if we see a little bit more of like Doug is, he's obviously been with the Kings for these past couple of years, but like him being in charge wouldn't surprise me. He's talked a lot about his influences, Coachy and Rick Adelman, and he was coached by Pat Riley. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we see some like triangle offense type stuff. Like, it wouldn't surprise, especially with Sabonis, his ability to pass. Obviously, Doug played in a system that is heavily based off of big man passing, like the triangle is. Like, I could definitely see a lot of just a mixture. I think it'll just be more of a mixture of stuff. But that's also kind of going a little bit counter with Scott Perry talking about an identity. I think, a little bit of the Kings' identity for the past couple of years has been the dribble handoffs. And so I don't know. I mean, that you could also argue that might be a symbol of where they're at with Domantas Sabonis too. Like, if you're going to build this offense around a guy who loves handoffs, that probably says you maybe think he's going to be here for at least the rest of this season. If not, obviously he's on a 3 years more left on his contract. That could also symbolize that maybe they are, a little bit more in the Sabonis business than we think.
And also we, just kind of assume that this is going to be run through Domas. Zach LaVine's probably the best offensive player on this team. And they ran some DHO with Vucevic. Like, if you think back to when Mike Brown, when they first got DeRozan, he talked about going back watching Chicago. Oh, they ran more DHO than I realized. This might not be a horrible transition for DeMar, but we saw how that played out a little bit. And I think that Zach falls in a similar category. And I don't know that optimizing Domas and optimizing Zach are how much can they coexist?
We're going to find out. Thank you to Chris Watkins and Brendan Nunez, our Sacktown Sports insiders. That was the round table. One more hour with you. Thanks, fellas. We will talk to you again soon. When we return, could Darius Garland be the missing piece? Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Come check out Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room with the most variety of table games in the region in a safe and friendly environment. Plenty of well-lit parking available, conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. And remember, Capital Casino has the best food, the best service, and the best action. 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. For more information, log on to capital-casino.com, and please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Memorial Day Race to Savings is on. Get the best deals of the season at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? During the Memorial Day Race to Savings, drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Get ready for a summer of music, comedy, and thrills with the Sacktown Sports Live events calendar. Kick it off with punk legends The Damned at Ace of Spades May 31st. Then laugh it up with comedian Kathleen Madigan at Hard Rock Live Sacramento June 7th. Country fans, mark your calendars. Whitey Morgan and the 78s roll into town June 19th, followed by jam-packed June 21st. Tainted Love is at Ace of Spades. Lee Bryce and Walker Hayes are at Ironstone Amphitheater, and Penn and Teller are at Thunder Valley. Then it's 3 days of music and wine at the Country Summer Music Festival, June 27th through the 29th at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Don't miss the tradition and thrills of the Folsom Pro Rodeo, July 3rd through 5th, followed by country superstar Cody Johnson at Golden One Center, July 18th. August brings legends. Catch Rick Springfield August 1st and Parker McCollum at the Ironstone Amphitheater June 16th. Grab your tickets now and don't miss a beat. Only with Sacktown Sports.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Are you thinking about buying a new car? Well, maybe you're on the fence. Let me help you out. Kyle Draper here from Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. From the first time I stepped into the MP of Stockton showroom, I knew I made the right choice. I settled on the all-electric EQS SUV. It's comfortable, stylish, and most importantly, it's safe. Mercedes-Benz has the reputation of making the finest cars in the world. Now it's your turn to experience what I already know. Mercedes-Benz of Stockton is the best car buying experience you'll ever have. It's just a short drive down on I-5 or anytime at mbfstockton.com.
KHTK HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD3 Sacramento.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Sacktown Sports 1140.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
$124.94 the final, a 30-point rout. Not a single day went by this season that Oklahoma City did not hold the best record in the West. And now this historic, relentless thunderstorm has unstoppably, emphatically, and officially earned the moniker best in the West. MVP, SGA, and company say we will OKC you in the NBA Finals, baby. Blowing the Wolves out of the building, 124-94 in Game 5.
I still can't believe it. I mean, yes, the Thunder have been the best team all season long, but I fell for the Anthony Edwards beating a Warriors team missing 60% of their offense, beating a Lakers team. I think I won't take anything away from the Timberwolves as far as the Lakers are concerned. I think that was legit. Some people are saying, well, it was just a good matchup and styles make fights and yada, yada, yada. I'm not doing that. I believe that the Timberwolves did something that nobody thought they were going to do. So I'm not going to change the story now because they beat the brakes off the Lakers and everybody wants to protect the Lakers. And it wasn't they didn't have a balanced roster. Stop it. Nobody picked the Timberwolves. But the Warriors, besides Kyle, as he's pointing to himself, yes. But the Warriors, that one, I think people started drinking some Kool-Aid that they shouldn't have been drinking because, I mean, it's Steph Curry on that Warriors team. You know what I mean? So that was the one where, okay, good for Ant. And, you know, it was the same conversation as Halliburton. I think that they both had two tests. I think that obviously Anthony Edwards' test was tougher, much tougher. But Halliburton, second time in the Eastern Conference, you know, this time was maybe more fluky or both of them kind of fluky, a couple injuries, but Halliburton's kind of silencing. It's not over yet. They'll play today, see if they can get it done. But Halliburton is kind of silencing it. I'm not saying that Halliburton's better than Anthony Edwards, but you get to a finals and 5 years from now, people are going to say, well, so-and-so didn't play for the Cavs and so-and-so this. That's just how it is. So I fell for it. This is ultimately about, I have two takeaways from the Western Conference Finals. Jokic is insane, as in insanely good. And OKC is who they thought they were. Not most people, right? Whether it's, I don't care if it's old media, new media, you played in the NBA, you didn't play after CYO, you're on the B2 team in CYO. I talk about A1, A2, B1, B2. You're on the worst CYO team, and now you're an adult talking basketball. A lot of people were not ready to crown the Thunder, and they haven't done it yet. But it is hard to see them losing to either Eastern Conference team unless Halliburton, again, takes another step. And if that happens, I don't know what his daddy will do. I don't know. The whole stadium might just start ascending into the heavens. So we'll see what happens with the Pacers as the Oklahoma City Thunder are sitting there waiting for him. About to get into this Darius Garland conversation. He is our trade candidate of the day, our trade target of the day. This 916 is kind of going back and forth as we had Chris Watkins and Brendan Nunez on, and we were talking about the point guard position and whether or not Devin Carter could get it done. 916 says, I think you have some bias, talking about myself, because you didn't want him drafted. I mean, look at some of the games that the Kings won this year. Carter was a big part of that. And if his name was different, he would have took the whole season off. You guys are sleeping on this kid. Two things can be true. I might be sleeping on Devin Carter, but that also wasn't the conversation. The conversation was whether or not Devin Carter could be a point guard. I do not believe Devin Carter could be a point guard. That doesn't mean I don't believe that Devin Carter could be a starter in the NBA, a very solid rotation piece in the NBA. I'm not saying that that's not possible. I'm saying that this team needs a point guard, and the question was whether or not Devin Carter could be a point guard on this team. And I don't believe that he can be. At least that's just, and I thought that before I even saw him play in Sacramento. So that's just kind of how I've always felt. And that's just from watching the tape. He's not doing point guard stuff. So that's really the only reason I feel like that. 916-339-1140. Somebody who does do point guard stuff to the clip of nearly 7 assists a game is Darius Garland. And Darius Garland, the two trades that we kind of cooked up for Darius Garland, the Kings would get Darius Garland and Isaac Okoro. The Cavs would get DeMar, Malik, Devin Carter, and 2 first-rounders, one next season, 2026, one in 2031. The second deal would be a 3-team deal. The Kings would get Darius Garland, Max Strus, and Neemias Queta, old friend. The Celtics would get DeMar DeRozan, Keon Ellis, and Chuma Okeke. And the Cavs would get Drew Holiday, Malik Monk, Devin Carter, and a 2031 first-round pick. That would be from the Kings. And I've kind of marinated on it, Kyle. Sitting here talking to Chris, talking to Brendan. We had the Kings round table after marinating on it for a bit. I still don't think I can do either one. I can't do either one. And if you're making me pick one, after talking to them about the Keon Ellis part of it, I would do the first deal, even though you're giving up more from the future standpoint, and we don't even know if the Cavs would do that. I would give up Devin Carter and 2 first-rounders, DeMar and Malik, and I really think that's a lot. I don't think Darius Garland's that good to give up all that.
Yeah, Darius Garland's kind of right in that in-between of, is he a top-end tier 2 guy, or a bottom tier 2 or a top-end 3? And I think the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, right? I'm not going to pretend like just because the Cavaliers lost in the playoffs and battled injury, but they probably still would have lost to the Pacers anyways. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to pretend like the Cavs didn't work, right? They won 64 games. The Cavalanche was a phenomenon in the regular season. Mm-hmm. They had 3 All-Stars, 2 All-NBA players, a first-team All-NBA guard, a defensive player of the year. Like this thing worked.
Yeah, I know. And I know Ty Jerome was got to be top 3 and 6 man. He might have been second.
Yeah, he certainly was up there. I mean, this Kenny Atkinson won Coach of the Year. Like, this team worked, and Darius Garland was their 3rd best player, but second. I mean, honestly, he could have been their 4th best player, depending on who you ask. But their 3rd best player and 2nd offensive scoring option. Mm-hmm. And Mobley actually only averaged 2 points less than him. So honestly, you could just call him a number 3 when you take everything in totality. I think that's probably the role for Darius Garland, is a number 3 on a championship contender. Now on the Kings, he would probably be the number 2 over Zach LaVine. But I guess you could make the argument that a big 3 of Garland, LaVine, and Sabonis is maybe a slightly higher ceiling than a big and Keegan Murray potentially being a number 4 is a slightly higher ceiling than a Fox, DeRozan, Sabonis big 3.
Yes,
slightly.
Yes, I would say so, because I think it comes down to, honestly, it comes down to Zach LaVine more than anybody else, because I think De'Aaron Fox and Darius Garland are close enough. And then you add in Zach LaVine, who it's funny. Should I have Zach LaVine over DeMar DeRozan based on what we just watched? Maybe not, but I do, right? And maybe that's just the fact that he shoots the three-pointer so well. But I just think he's more talented. He's younger. I think that's a better big 3 than what we attempted to watch, and only watched for 30 games, mind you.
Yeah, so that's kind of the in between here is no matter what deal you do, you are signing up for a 2-year run with Garland, Levine, and Sabonis, which make Garland Ja Morant, make Garland Trae Young, make Garland LaMelo Ball. I think this is more a fundamental question of should the Kings give up everything that they got for De'Aaron Fox in order to build a team that looks relatively similar to what they had with De'Aaron Fox, which, you know, this is the part that's frustrated me about it now is like, if they had just waited until the offseason,
I know
they might have been able to trade De'Aaron Fox for Darius Garland or trade De'Aaron Fox for Trae Young or just do something like that.
Yeah, the reports coming out of Cleveland that there could be a deal framework. It was the term used in place for Jalen Suggs. You know, the Magic have been looking for a scorer for about the last 7 years here. Who's been looking for something more? The Niners replacement for George Kittle or the Magic for somebody to score the basketball outside of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner? Feels like both. It's the Niners, but both have been happening for a very long time.
Well, those guys haven't been around that long, but even to your point with the Magic, it was like they've got Vucevic and DJ Augustine.
Yeah.
Like they just could never, like once it was Evan Fournier and the next year it was Terrence Ross and the next year it was DJ Augustine. Like they just could never find a guard who could score to pair alongside Vucevic.
It's like something about when you put on that Magic jersey. I don't know if it's the curse of Jameer Nelson or what's going on out there.
1 year it was Markelle Fultz.
Yeah.
They just kept trying to find the guard to pair with Vucevic, and it just never happened.
Yeah, Anthony Black is going to leave and be a 2010 guy. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, Anthony Black is going to make an all-star team with the next team he goes to.
That's right.
Maybe this is a good reason to trade for Cole Anthony, right? Cole Anthony's now flamed out in the cycle of Magic guards. Maybe Cole Anthony, the next destination he goes, he's going to be a stud.
Speaking of stud point guards, there are a couple free agents, and Keith Smith broke down who the free agent point guards are and what order they should be listed in. Am I coming around on any of the guys? Are you? We break that down when we return. Now on Sacktown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sacktown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sacktown Sports app.
Progressive has great customer service, and it's easy to reach us because great and easy is the way to be. Like salads. Great for you, and so easy you can put any group of veggies in a bowl and it's a salad. A full carrot with a head of cabbage? Weird, but still a salad. 1 radish and a couple of green beans? Also a salad. 14 blueberries, half an onion, and a sunchoke? Odd, yes, but an odd salad. So contact Progressive's customer service by phone, app, or online. It's great and easy, just like salad. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Ugh, I gotta get business cards printed for my entire staff, but where do I even?
That was easy.
Oh, okay, Staples. But can I have bigger stuff printed too, like huge signs and banners?
That was easy.
Nice. And what if I had to ship a package?
That was easy.
Have my passport photo taken?
That was easy.
Coffee and snacks?
That was easy.
What about the latest laptops?
That was
Earbuds
easy.
and headphones?
That was
Office
easy.
chairs?
That was easy.
I think I also need to get some Staples.
Seriously?
I had to ask.
For everything your business needs to get the job done.
Staples. That was easy.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sacktown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sacktown Sports app.
So I have a theory here, and there are a couple movies. We're going to get to Keith Smith and his breakdown of point guards. I thought it was great. Everything Keith Smith does is great. But there are a couple movies that I reference a lot on this show, okay? Hang with me. One is Hall Pass. It's one of my favorite movies. I think it's very underrated. 2, all of the Mighty Ducks movies, because I'm a 90s baby. That's just what it is. And 3, I somehow find myself bringing up Good Luck Chuck a lot.
Ooh, no, 8 Mile. Okay.
Well, 8 Mile that's everybody's favorite besides you, because you were 2 months when it came out. And I'm referencing Good Luck Chuck again but in a different capacity. Now, it's not there yet because the Pacers, they have to win. But I have an idea. It might be a little crazy, but if you're the Kings, why the bleep not? What the hell do you have to lose? And I was thinking about this as if the Pacers win, a lot of people would be calling this the Paul George Finals, right? Because Paul George was traded somewhere down the line. That turns into Tyrese Halliburton, and where the Pacers are now, he gets to Oklahoma City. They famously trade him for SGA with a bunch of other stuff. SGA turns out being SGA. So if you remember the movie Good Luck Chuck with Dane Cook would hook up with a woman, and the woman would then find their husband. And Dane Cook, I just saw a clip of this on social media. It was basically some spell that somebody put on him. He's trying to get the spell taken off of him. And women kind of become privy to this, and they start seeking Dane Cook out. Hey, he's having a great time. But eventually he wants a relationship, and nobody wants to be in a relationship with him because they want to go find his husband after they hook up. So I'm thinking, if Paul George is Dane Cook in this situation, if the Sixers want to get off Paul George's contract, the Kings should sign Paul George. And then when they move off of Paul George at whatever point, you got to think they will find their foundational piece and make their way to a championship after that happens.
Okay, I see the vision.
The visions are clear.
That's what I'm thinking here.
Does it not count for the Clippers then because the Clippers let him walk in free agency?
That's right. That's right.
Is there a difference in the
letting them walk is different.
In the hookups of Dane Cook, letting him walk is different than giving up on Paul George? That's different right. In this alternate universe.
Got to trade.
So the idea is essentially Zach LaVine for Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take your Paul George, and then in 2 years when we can finally move him at 1 year left on the contract.
Exactly.
Paul George
whoever we get.
Oh, man, I would love that because I would love to be part of the podcast P show, but I have to say, I don't know if the Paul George magic is still well and good. Because remember,
happening right now.
Sure, but it took 7 years. You're saying that 10 years down the line, this will produce a finals.
Might not be tomorrow.
Sure. I mean, it was Paul George got traded by the Pacers.
It was a very long time
8 years ago now.
He was still doing Gatorade commercials.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Have you ever seen the Jeff Teague on the Club 520 pod talking about that Gatorade commercial?
No.
I'll see if I can find the clip somewhere. It's CJ Miles was on the team at the time, and he took the last shot in game 1, and Paul George said at a presser, I need to take the last shot. And so then in game 4, I think this was like 2015 or something. In game 4, Paul George takes the last shot, and he tough shot, but he bricks it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was their elimination. And as they're in the locker room, CJ Miles shows Jeff Teague his phone, and it's someone editing the Gatorade commercial.
And I've seen that video.
Yes, but it's edited with him bricking it.
Right.
And CJ Miles, his teammate, is the one who edited it to have Paul George brick it. It's one of the funniest stories I've ever heard. It's like, hey, and he grabs the phone. He's just like, for YouTube people, you can see it.
Just showing
him the edit of the Gatorade commercial, but instead of ball game, it's Paul George bricking it.
So that's just a thought I had during the break. And hey, what do you have to lose at this point, Sacramento? It's worked for a couple teams. Now I know you were part of the Halliburton thing, so that might mess up some of the mojo, but you may as well try it out. You're paying someone $50 million anyway, and there's no championship in sight. Maybe one of these guys will help. Keith Smith had a breakdown, and he's doing this. We'll probably look up some other positions as well, maybe the center position, but we know that the Kings are a bit unique in that way. The bottom line is they need a point guard right now, and Keith Smith says 2025 NBA free agency is around the corner. This year's class is considered a fairly weak one in terms of top-end talent. However, there are still several impact players available. In these rankings, we take a similar approach to the one many teams use when it comes to ranking available players. Each position was broken down into tiers: all-stars, starters, rotation, and fringe. So he's got him listed. I mean, they go all the way into the 20s. Kind of the highlights of who he brought up, and number 26 is Markelle Fultz, by the way. But some of the highlights that he brought up and that we want to get to: number 5, he had number 3 in the starter tier, Dennis Schroeder. Okay, and Schroeder is the first player on this list that is a threat to leave for a new team. Keith Smith writes, the Pistons would love to re-sign him, but Detroit's first priority is going to be re-signing Malik Beasley. Pending that path that takes, Schroeder could get squeezed out even as he moves towards his mid-30s. Schroeder remains a terrific backup and solid spot starter that should put him in the range of the non-taxpayer MLE deals. He has Chris Paul at number 6. Paul is still getting it done, but a lessened role. He was very productive for San Antonio, who was able to keep his minutes in a manageable range. That can continue for anyone who needs a veteran point guard. Big question, where does Paul want to play? He talked about how hard it was being away from his California-based family last season. That could mean he has a self-limited market. Oh, no. Oh, no. California-based family, self-limited market. Chris Paul, you are a Sacramento King?
I like it. I've told you before, if you're going to go that traditional 20 minutes a game route, go with him instead of one of the Joneses or Jared Butler.
Yeah.
You're better off just going Chris Paul. At least he's going to be healthy and play a solid 20.
Wow. I mean, I can be convinced, but my whole issue is just like what they said, right? Managing his time. So you're getting Chris Paul, but you still need somebody else. Are you going to get Chris Paul and Tyus Jones? Is that what you're doing? And have the worst defensive point guard rotation in the league?
No, I think you're getting Chris Paul and then having a facilitating guard that can play the non-Chris Paul minutes. So, like,
and is that player on the team? Is that Malik Monk?
It could be Malik Monk. It could be Zach LaVine. It could be RJ Barrett. It could be someone else who's not on the team right now. I think the idea is just Chris Paul gives you 20 to 25 minutes, but he's probably not in the closing lineup. But in the closing lineup, facilitating and ball handling is a little less important because it's more flow and ISO offense and people, inbounding from out of bounds and stuff.
There was a name brought up in the East where DeMar DeRozan's talents may be needed. Could they give the Kings back a return that would make Kings fans happy as well as the organization? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
When I was in Iraq, our convoy was hit. It was bad. After I came home, I could still hear booms and see tracer fire. Makes it hard to be a good mom.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I'm Naomi Mathis, Air Force veteran.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
With help from DAV, I was able to begin to heal.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Today, I'm part of DAV. We're veterans helping veterans to get the benefits they've earned. And I give my veterans my all.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
My victory is being able to be here for my children.
Naomi Mathis, thank you for your service. May your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Whitey here for Napoleon Grills, reminding you that when buying a new grill, every detail matters. While supplies last, you'll receive a $149 gift with purchase on every new Napoleon Prestige stainless steel grill. The kit even includes a pizza lover starter kit and much more. And now up to $79 off Napoleon Rogue models. Napoleon grills are built different, built better, built to last with a lifetime warranty and premium steel that boasts amazing quality. Visit Green Acres Nursery today for your best selection of Napoleon grills and accessories.
Water. It's more than just a word. It's morning routines, backyard memories, and everything in between. At Roseville Environmental Utilities, we're not just managing water, we're protecting it. Smart planning, conservation, innovation. We make every drop count for today and tomorrow. Let's keep the promise together. Find out how you can help at roseville.ca.us/water promise. Roseville Environmental Utilities. Water. It's not just a word, it's our promise.
With 25 award-winning years in Northern California, Ashton & Price is your local injury law firm. Pro attorney tip: if a firm presents as local but they're in LA, red flag. If your first consultation is not with a lawyer, big red flag. At Ashton & Price, your first consult is with a local attorney, and if serious injury prevents travel, a lawyer will come to you. Still not enough? George Washington's my uncle. At Ashton & Price, no red flags, just red, white, and blue.
Remember, for the best advice, don't think twice. Call Ashton and Price.
The Memorial Day Race to Savings is on. Get the best deals of the season at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
Looking to own or lease? During the Memorial Day Race to Savings, drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our number one priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda. Your one-stop Honda shop.
I remember as if it were yesterday. I reached down to move a nightstand and was astonished at the weight of the piece. Hi, this is Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. At that moment, I instantly recognized the difference between Naturewood's quality furniture that will last a lifetime versus lesser quality furniture found elsewhere. Now, I suppose there's a huge difference in what you'd put in your first apartment and what you would live with in the comfort of your own home. Right now, Naturewood Home Furnishings Made in USA sale is a great time to fill your home with solid, superior quality furniture to reflect your own love for life. With brands like Sam Moore, Stanton, Stickley, Hilltop Hickory, Simply Amish, and many more, Naturewood Home Furnishings has tables, chairs, couches, and, yes, nightstands, and more at their Made in USA sale. Find furniture that will be with you forever. Naturewood Home Furnishings, off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140.
on Sacktown Sports.
916-339-1140, taking up to 2 p.m. If the Kings, this is from the 916, if the Kings aren't going to do anything big, then Chris Paul kind of makes sense. He does. He does. From a different 916, I hate Paul George. Thank you very much for that information.
Chris Paul one does make sense, I'm telling you.
It does.
He doesn't even have to start if you don't want him to.
I think he would, but I understand why you would say that. And as far as, the big move conversation, and we can go back and forth on what is or isn't a big move, a name that got brought up, or a team that got brought up, the Milwaukee Bucks, if they are able to hang on to Giannis, that DeMar DeRozan gap year situation where, look, is DeMar full-blown ring chasing? Kind of hard to ring chase when you accepted $24 million a year. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have, but that's the reality of the situation. So I don't know that DeMar is full-blown ring chasing. I think he's playoff chasing. I think he is relevant basketball chasing, which he hasn't had in a very long time. So with that being said, hey, you guys are missing a player. The Celtics are missing Jason Tatum. I can give you some points. I'm a bucket getter. That's the one thing when we were talking to Chris and Brendan. I think what we learned during these playoffs is that you need, and this is what we said going into the season. I don't know how this team will work during the regular season as far as De'Aaron Fox, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, that crew, but they're basically built for the playoffs. You have De'Aaron Fox that we know he can defend. I know they're not a good defensive team, but De'Aaron Fox can defend, and you have two clutch players in De'Aaron and DeMar DeRozan. Unfortunately, not only did they not get to the playoffs, they barely even got 30 games into the season. But that was always a thought process. And we're watching teams that it feels like a bunch of them are missing just straight up bucket getters when it matters, right? You're looking at a Knicks team that has one. They have one bucket getter. Would the Knicks be interested in DeMar DeRozan? I'm not saying they would, but they are missing a bucket getter. And that's what you need in the finals, or that's what you need in the playoffs when things slow up. Now, how DeMar plays hasn't really lent itself to regular season basketball. But if you want to pay for $24 million off the bench or kind of that third option, this is a dude that can do some things for you. So we talked about the Bucks. Would you take a Andre Jackson Jr. and Kyle Kuzma and say, hey, Bucks, here you go? Would you take it Andre Jackson Jr. and Bobby Portis on a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan? Here you go. I think this one, Kyle, so we kind of have had a running joke about instead of getting the hot guy, right, who just had a really good season like Malik Beasley. Keith Smith writes that Malik Beasley will probably go back to the Pistons. And why wouldn't he? And why wouldn't the Pistons want him back? He just balled out, right? Ty Jerome would love to go back to the Cavs. He just balled out. These are dudes that I don't know if they're going to do this again. And I'm going to guess, and that's the other thing, just a quick sidebar on the Cavs. If you're the Cavs, and this is how the Kings should have looked at it after Beam Team season, if I'm the Cavs, I'm looking at this saying, we had some bad luck in the playoffs, but the chances of us doing that again in the regular season with everybody aligning and balling out, I don't know that we can trust that. So we just saw the best version of this team, and it didn't work. And it didn't work out. Injuries, things like that.
You're making the case of 2018 Raptors, which is we're the number one seed, but now we're going to trade for Kawhi.
Right, because that we've seen the best version of this team. That's just a quick sidebar. So you need these bucket getters, and not every team has one. The Kings don't have much else, but they have a bucket getter in DeMar DeRozan, which a lot of teams could want. So when I'm talking about Malik Beasley, hot season, Ty Jerome, hot season, where am I going with this? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope just had one of the worst seasons of his career. Without looking, it's possibly the worst season of his career. KCP, they trade for him. The Magic, like we joked, if you wear a Magic jersey and you're not named Paolo Banchero or Franz Wagner, you cannot score the basketball. So as I'm looking around saying, okay, who needs a bucket getter? Like we said, we talked about the Bucks and what they could do. I look at a Magic team and I say, look, man, instead of trying to go after Malik Beasley, who just had a good season, these dudes, we're not talking about foundational players that we know we learned. I'm going to learn from Kevin Huerter and learn that if you just had a really good season, I don't know that you'll do that again. Maybe you won't drop off as much as Kevin Huerter, but I don't know that you'll do that again. So Kyle, DeMar DeRozan, hopefully he can buck the trend. He's got to go as a small forward so he doesn't forget how to shoot the basketball, because that's what happens. Can't be a guard in Orlando or you'll forget how to shoot. So DeMar DeRozan to the Magic, right? And in return, you get back, give me KCP. Give me KCP who can defend. Just came off. Just like it can't get better for Ty Jerome or it can't get better for Malik Beasley. Kyle, it cannot get worse for KCP. It literally can't.
Sure, I agree with you. You're also stealing Matt George's trade right now, but that's okay.
When did he say that?
Whenever he did his 5 DeMar DeRozan trades a couple weeks ago, you're literally word for word, bar for bar,
Not
stealing
yet.
his trade.
Not yet. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And you have Jet Howard. Did you have Jet Howard on there?
I don't think they're going to be able to get Jet Howard.
Well, you look at the Magic, and they have a bunch of dudes, again, that, we don't want to move these guys. These timelines are starting to get messed up. Okay, you can't move Jet Howard. You can't move Tristan da Silva. You can't move Anthony Black. It's a little bit of they might not have a choice.
No, I understand your sentiment that, yes, Jet Howard is a movable piece. I just don't think it's movable for filler on a DeMar DeRozan KCP trade. I think the Kings probably going to have to add a little something else in there. Because when we did the trade for Cole Anthony, we had it being DeMar DeRozan for what was essentially Cole Anthony, Jet Howard, and a second-round pick. And the gap between KCP and Cole Anthony probably isn't that pronounced, but it is probably enough to be like, hey, we kind of got to get a little something back here in this deal.
How much Jet Howard have you actually watched?
Very little.
So why do you think that Jet Howard is, or how would you rank all of their young guys, right? Because we're doing the same thing with the Spurs now, where the Spurs have 5 untouchable dudes who don't even really play. So between Jet Howard, Anthony Black, and Tristan De Silva, what is that? You're getting one of them. How about that? And I know you're not getting Anthony Black.
No, there's got to be one more guy in there that we're forgetting about.
No.
Caleb Houston.
No.
That's the other one.
I said, no.
But my point is, what I'm doing with Jet Howard is the same thing that the Kings are doing with Devin Carter, which is lottery pick that is essentially on 6 years of team control if they so choose, right? Jet Howard might have his option declined like Jake LaRavia, but if you want, you have him under team control for essentially 6 years, and Jet Howard's about 2.5 years younger than Devin Carter. So what I'm doing with Jet Howard is the exact same thing the Kings are doing. Is Devin Carter worth a lot on the open market? Probably not. Is he worth less than what he was worth before he got drafted? Probably. But you're betting on the potential that someone is going to find the key that unlocks that player, and all of a sudden you have a 22-year-old 6'8" forward who can defend in Jet Howard, or a 6'3" rebounding guard in Devin Carter.
And this all comes back to the idea, to me, that the situation of having a bucket getter matters, right? And really, we don't know yet. DeMar DeRozan could be worth what I just said, or that could be laughed out the building, right? To your thought process, based on what happens with KD, what happens with Giannis. DeMar DeRozan might be the most fascinating piece, and going back to, or specifically in Sacramento, don't get me wrong, going back to what Chris Watkins had said during the roundtable, do you make a decision if there are teams, like right now with all the smoke that's out there, if there are teams with some Godfather offers out there for Kevin Durant and Giannis, that raises what DeMar DeRozan could be worth. Once something gets done, let's say Kevin Durant, the market isn't as crazy. A lot of people are looking around saying, so Kevin Durant at 37, 1 year, over 50 mil. I don't know. I can't give you a bunch of picks. I got to make the money work. Kevin Durant's market's not that big. Let's say he goes to the Mavericks and it's some, obviously it's not Cooper Flagg, but it's some weird Klay Thompson and picks or whatever.
PJ Washington and Gafford.
Exactly. Now you're sitting there and yeah, you ain't getting a DeMar DeRozan deal. So I think that it's one of the more underrated stories in the NBA, specifically if you're in Sacramento, because I don't know what in the world the Kings are going to get back for DeMar DeRozan. It could be not a haul, but it could be something thinking, yeah, okay, cool. Or it could be, yeah, I mean, we got something back.
I think this is why draft picks are more valuable than people give them credit for. Is it costs you basically nothing because of the fixed salaries on the draft positions. It costs you very little to just stash the draft pick and keep trying to make it work, right? So, like, we talked earlier about how Darius Garland is connected in trade rumors to Cleveland. I'm sorry, connected to Orlando in a Jalen Suggs thing. If you package Jet Howard as part of a larger deal for Darius Garland, that feels like you're selling high because you're essentially using him like a first-round pick to get a player who's better than Jalen Suggs.
Right.
But if you're doing it for 1 year of DeMar DeRozan, it feels like you're kind of selling low on what Jet Howard could be. Maybe he becomes nothing.
Right.
But if he does become nothing, you just move on. You do what the Grizzlies did. You move on from Jake LaRavia and you draft another one the next year and see if that one can be the guy who blossoms into a star player.
One last note, and I know I might be coming off way too optimistic here, but one last note that Brett Siegel, you can go check that out on YouTube, run those numbers up. It's out on YouTube right now and on the Sacktown Sports app. One other thing that Brett Siegel said is the Kings, they also could benefit And obviously, we wish that everybody could be healthy. The Kings know better than anyone with Malik Monk not being healthy these last 2 postseason runs. The Kings could benefit from the fact that the Boston Celtics, although they're not going to tank or be a non-threat next season, Eastern Conference teams might say, all right, this thing is wide open. We're about to watch a 4 seed go to the finals in Tyrese Halliburton and that crew. There's no Jason Tatum next season. Lord knows what the Cavs do, and we have no clue what Giannis is going to do. He could go to the West. So that could be a reason for a team like the Magic to say, we do, again, I think Anthony Black, you get a 6'7" point guard like him, you're not moving him. But we do like Jett Howard. But if we get DeMar DeRozan as our closer and he's just kind of chilling while Franz and Paolo take another leap and we can get to a second round and just get hot, I'm willing to do that this season more so. And the Celtics, not only are they not going to have Jason Tatum next season, they could lose Drew Holiday, they could lose Derek White. This could be the season where, whether it's the Magic, an Eastern Conference team is more likely to take an aggressive swing and maybe even, dare I say, overpay, to your point, because the East is wide open. That's what I'll leave it at.
Yeah, and I agree with that point. It's also difficult because, like, DeRozan last summer got traded for Harrison Barnes, Chris Duarte, and a pick swap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's getting that this time around. Like, the Kings are probably getting less than what they traded to get DeMar DeRozan, but they also got a year of DeMar DeRozan. So,
right.
You're expected to get less at the end because his contract is less and he's a little bit older.
One more segment with you, then we turn you over to the Drive guys. The A's are trying to get the winning going again. And if you're curious why the Kings are not in the California Classic, Kyle Draper gave us the answers. Allen Stiles, Sacktown Sports.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys. And I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia. I got a tour of their headquarters. I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to Bundle Deal Days at AutoZone. Well, I do need a bundle of things. When you bundle, you save. Do I save if I bundle oil with an oil filter? Save up to $12 on that bundle. What about brake pads and rotors? Bundle those and the brake pads are free. Can't save more than free. You can save on hundreds of deals during Bundle Deal Days. Ends June 2nd at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply. Duralast brake pads only.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen. And this is Sarah Beth. And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese, I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and a Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Barbecue season is back. Hey, it's Ellen. And this is Sarah Beth. And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that zesty barbecue sauce. I love that it was a little sweet, a little tangy, and with the mac and cheese, I feel like I tasted the brown sugar bacon first. It was the absolute best combination. Pro tip, 3 sandwiches are always better than 1.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and a Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation. That's when you become Vacation You, who just camped where there's absolutely no shade. Even though regular you burns easily. In fact, Vacation You burns too, but is too stubborn to admit it, which is why regular you gets in trouble at the dermatologist because Vacation You doesn't do doctors. So bundle your RV with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Summer's almost here, and so are popsicles, pool days, and a lot of smiling. Make sure your kiddo's smile is ready with a visit to Kids Care Dental and Orthodontics. Our expert team makes dental visits easy and fun with sensory-friendly hours for kids who need a calmer environment. We can also accommodate same-day treatments, and to save you time, if your child needs multiple treatments, we can often do them all at once. Appointments fill up fast, so don't wait. Beat the summer rush and schedule online at kidscaredental.com. That's kidscaredental.com, where healthy, happy smiles begin.
Skeeter here. Got a question. What's small and dark with white bands on its legs and bites during the day?
Mosquitoes. Hi, I'm Luz Maria Robles, but these are two new types of day-biting mosquitoes. They're invading our area and becoming a big problem.
And they can be dangerous.
But we're on it, so when you see them, report it at fightthebite.net. In the meantime, use insect repellent and drain stagnant water around your yard.
We're here to help with these day-biting mosquitoes.
Visit us at fightthebite.net.
Want the best movie experience in town? Join Sacktown Sports IMAX Pass by visiting sacktownsports.com. Sign up today. You can win tickets to see this week's films at the Esquire IMAX Theater.
Live and local.
It's Allen Stiles
on Sacktown Sports.
One more segment with you. This Thursday has flown by, and the Drive guys are going to get you through the rest of it, along with our guy, Jay Johnson. And we wanted to kind of break down some of the California Classic stuff, just trying to get this information out for you that we were told. But real quick, I know we have had a couple requests, and we take calls, of course, and texts as far as the A's or the Athletics, and we have our Eric Martin segment, which a lot of people love the breakdown that Eric Martin's third base coach for the Athletics they share. It's been rough, and Kyle showed me something that I would not have guessed. I truly would not have guessed. At the end of May, the A's have the same exact record as they did last year. I don't know if it's because I have, green-colored glasses on or what the deal is, but it feels like the A's should be in a better position than last season. Maybe it's because of all the drama with the boycotts and people not at the games in Oakland. I don't know, but when Kyle showed me that the A's are in the same exact position through 56 games as last season, I got pretty sad. And the only thing I can say to that is at least, it's a low bar, at least they are not the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies are 9-47. 9-47. They are off to the worst start in modern day baseball history. They are on pace to lose 136 games, obliterating the White Sox record of 121 losses. The Rockies held the Cubs' mighty offense to 9 runs in 3 games, but were still swept. This is a huge problem. The last time the Rockies were good, off the top of my head, they got Chris Bryant, who some people forget how to hit. Chris Bryant, and I do attest to this because it happened to me in my career, Chris Bryant got the fielding yips. It's rare. Most time the yips happens when you throw a ball, any type of ball, baseball, whatever, or you can't shoot anymore, or shooting a soccer ball, whatever it is. Chris Bryant, it's a rare case. It happened to me. Rare case of the fielding yips. He forgot how to field a baseball, which then affected his ability to hit a baseball. One of the rare decisions, the rare good decisions that Farhan Zaidi made. And it is an embarrassment to baseball. And I have friends in Colorado, and it's just pathetic. It is literally pathetic.
I think they also have the 29th ranked farm system too. So it's help is not coming.
What do you do if you're Major League Baseball?
how did they even get this bad? Like, I don't remember the Rockies being like, oh, they really tricked this off. Like,
they had Charlie Blackmon for, it felt like 45 years.
Yep, and he finally retired.
And then
they let Trevor Story walk in free agency.
Who that wasn't a terrible decision.
No, they let Nolan, or they traded Nolan Arenado, but I think they're still paying like $100 million of his contract or something. Like, I don't even know how that happened. I don't know what the deal. I mean, I assume it's just the haves and the have-nots growing larger in baseball, but it doesn't feel like there should be these historic losers in the modern age right now. But in back-to-back years, you're about to have, I guess, really 3 years in a row, because the A's in 2023 were on pace to break all sorts of records for worst team ever. But you're seeing these new records being broken for worst team ever by the A's, White Sox, and now Rockies.
The A's are 23-33, and it's not going to get particularly easy. The Blue Jays have been underwhelming, but you got to go to Toronto. You got to go to the 6. The Blue Jays are 27-28. So the A's, they just got swept by the Astros. It was just a 2-game set. Now they will have 4 games in Toronto. Then they come back home to take on the Minnesota Twins.
Well, 4 games against them too.
Yeah, the Minnesota Twins. Yeah, they are nothing to play with. They've been red hot.
Didn't they win like 14 in a row or something?
That is correct. Then they host the Orioles, who that's probably the biggest letdown this season. So get on out there. Should I even say support your A's? Are they your A's? Are they anybody's A's?
Well, you shouldn't. Support them if you feel so morally inclined.
Support the city?
I wouldn't say that either.
Support
if you're
Sacramento baseball. How about that? That's the one.
You don't have to do that either, because you can.
That's right.
You can always go River Cats for Sacramento
and
baseball.
I'm back tomorrow night, baby. I love Fridays. I love working the River Cats on Fridays. That's right. Everybody's in such a good mood. Oh, it's great. The energy is great. I love River Cats Fridays.
So what you're saying is don't go to the A's game. Go to the River Cats game tomorrow.
Well, you can do both.
Well, you don't have to.
You can do both.
But if you can only do
I will
one.
only be there tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow and Sunday.
So
if you want to see your boy.
What I'm hearing is don't go to the A's, go to the River Cats, because the A's are about to get beat by the Twins. And at least if you go to the River Cats, you can see Allen Stiles on the video board yelling.
That's right. And if you come up to me, if you come up to me early enough, no promises, but if you butter me up, I will maybe be able to get you in a promo. Thank you, Jake Laravia. No promises, but if you come up to me early enough, I'll see what I can do. Real quick, Kyle, I just got to double check, and I want to give this person time to respond before we hear from Kyle Draper about the California Classic. From the 530, I really think if we bring back Barnes to fill DeRozan's spot and Chris Paul, we could be a championship contender. Paul, Levine, Keegan, Barnes, and Sabonis. Easily a top 5 team in the West. 530, I'm not going to laugh. I just need to know, are you serious or are you trolling because we're nearing the end of the show? 530. So you can answer today or tomorrow.
So it was Chris Paul and...
Because I can't tell your tone over text. Chris Paul.
Harrison Barnes.
That's right.
For...
Oh, he didn't... Oh, I guess DeMar's just gone. We don't know.
Okay.
But it's Chris Paul, Zach LaVine, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, and Domantas Sabonis. Top 5 team in the West, according to the 530, the Dirty 530. Please, I just need to know.
Okay.
Just if you're not trolling, okay, we can agree to disagree. If you are trolling, I guess it's a good troll job if I have to ask the question. That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they just responded.
Okay, they knew it was. Come on now. 530 says, dang, you knew it was a troll job. Come on. All right, Kyle, let's hear from Kyle Draper what he had to say about the California Classic.
Here's what I'm told about the reason why Sacramento is not a part of it.
All right. Sources tell you?
Sources are telling me. Sources say because of all the turnover, front office, coaching staffs, assistants, the organization is focusing on the Vegas Summer League and making sure everything is in lockstep and everything is tight for that, instead of adding another Summer League to the plate, which could, because they did it last year. Remember they had 2 teams?
Yeah, they did. 2 split squads.
And I heard that was kind of a nightmare, if you will, from a logistics standpoint. And they wanted to avoid that this year and instead wanted to focus strictly on getting everybody in lockstep for the Vegas Summer.
That was Kyle Draper, who you will hear from very shortly here as the Drive Guys get started up. Some people believe it. Some people are calling baloney on it. I think it would have been nice. I think, again, somebody on the text line said to them, it's just another sign that the Kings don't really have a pulse on what the city wants, and maybe they didn't think it was that big of a deal. As we mentioned, the Warriors came out, the Warriors PR, and they just said, hey, this is what it is. There was no announcement from the Kings. And yeah, I do believe that there are certain things in Sacramento that you just like to feel as if they are yours, right? And I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. We had texts coming in throughout the offseason. I know the offseason started pretty soon for the Kings, but we had texts coming in saying, hey, what's going on with the Summer League? Do you know anything? And we told you we would know when we found out, and we found out.
You think the Kings just weren't really prepared for such a
uproar?
Concern? Yeah, exactly. A backlash of sorts.
I think for sure. I think that they probably would have packaged it differently and came out with an initial statement instead of really all of us reading the tea leaves from that's probably one of the most viewed Warriors besides Kevin Durant returns or something, a transaction. Probably one of the biggest non-injury, non-transactional Warriors PR tweets in a very long time.
That's a pretty big qualifier, but I guess I would agree with you.
Well, the rest is just...
What else? Yeah, what else is
Moses
PR?
Moody has gone, for thumb surgery.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Steph Curry has been named Western Conference Player of the Week.
Exactly. There you go. And there I go. Thank you for listening to the Allen Stiles Show. Thank you to the Roundtable. Senor Segway strikes again. The Roundtable, Chris Watkins, Brendan Nunes. Thanks to Kyle Ledbetter. As always, all the callers, texters, sack chatters. Drive Guys coming up next. Whitey Gleason, Kyle Draper, Jay Johnson. Until tomorrow, and it's Friday, by the way. To get the bag, like the beam.
Very unfortunate timing to wear an Isaiah Thomas shirt if you guys happen to see his tweet today.
Yeah.
Super random.
So strange.
Super
I just saw,
random.
it was something about farting on a plane or something.
Yeah,
he was
he was just like, I can't help
myself
as he